The button is pressed. Um, yeah. Hello.
Hello?
How are you? Um, so this is the what's probably going to be the bulk of my video, which is just me talking to you, and you are Sean DeWalsh.
I am Sean D. Walsh. Yep, that's
Sean
me.
D. Walsh. Uh, Sean the Walsh.
Sean
Um,
D. Walsh. Yeah, that's what my friends call me. Um,
Matt the
yeah,
Pat.
Matt D. Pat. Yeah, could you imagine?
Got it.
Um, yeah.
Um,
So what's the plan here?
the plan here, that I had in mind, is to kind of go through, if you had, your comment was already very thorough, but to go through the original comment on the video, to just be
Hmm.
like, to just clarify all of these things. I would like to set the record straight for me, and the sake of my uh credibility, but also if you had any other trivia about these things to add. Again, original comment was very thorough. But I don't know, maybe we could look at some manuals together. I've got the instruction booklets up here. Yeah, and then also, I guess I should introduce, because not everybody may be, even though you have more subscribers than me and everything, like, not everybody may be familiar with you.
Yeah,
So
of course.
so this is Sean. He left a comment, on my Mario video that just thoroughly disproved the entire thing, and changed my life a little bit, because um, I thought I was so sure about being unsure about Mario, but really I had no idea, and I felt a legitimate religious awakening. No, not quite religious, but almost. Um,
I just like to say that I feel like your stance in the video is what a lot of people do feel about Mario,
uh
and I
huh.
think that that I am definitely in the minority when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yes.
So, um, again, I think I've said this before, but you shouldn't feel um, bad that you didn't know any
Oh
of this
no.
stuff, or because it's absolutely just you being a normal person and me being like this weird analytical Mario
Having the
guy.
Mario
So
brain rot.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
exactly.
I understand that. And I think that, like, I'm lucky to be in a place in my life where I was like open to, and again, like, the thing that I've been saying about this the whole time is, like, thank God this wasn't about something actually important.
Hmm.
Like,
Exactly.
thank God I wasn't wrong about, like, some like overt
So yes, I'm
political.
really
Yeah,
yeah.
which is just like, um that also happens, and that is also fine, as long as you take steps. But, like, um it was just cracking me up, because I was just like, thank God I was like willing to listen. And, like, um when I started reading your comment, it starts out like this. um and it says, uh there was this part. um yeah, I think it's rather safe to say, despite what the majority of the internet would have you believe, that Mario has a consistent canon and was intended to from the very beginning. And when you started it like that, like literally like an essay, um I was like, I'm so interested to see where this goes, like, immediately. um I was always gonna read it. I read all the comments right now, but
Mhm.
I'm at that stage where it's not, like, completely overwhelming to me to do
Yeah.
that. But when you started it out like this, like, with such a good faith argument and everything, I was just like, well, I'm completely in, like, change my mind. And yeah. And then I I read your whole comment several times. Um and then I started going into this deep dive on you, which I'll also just sort of briefly and you can correct me if this feels like a misrepresentation or anything, but I love your channel a lot. I've watched all the videos. I think debunking Matt Pat is a public service um, of sorts. The podcast is extremely funny and good. Um,
Oh,
I
I love doing that.
it is so much fun. I would recommend anyone. Well, first of all, watch literally all of these videos if you liked my original video, because they are uh, in the same spirit but with information that is more educated. And but also this podcast is incredibly good. It reminds me so much of just like how I interact with my friends, and kind of always have, because we also have a similar Mario brain rot, um, just like among me and my longtime internet friends who,
Hmm.
as you said, like kind of grew up on the same places a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
just the interjecting of like, hey, isn't it weird how like Kamek is just whatever. I don't
Yeah.
even remember. It was in the middle of this episode. You like mentioned something about Kamek, and it was just totally out of the blue. And it just reminded me so much about how my friends and I are just like, hey, like, where's Donkey Kong Jr. or like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I'm glad you enjoyed it because we had a lot of fun making it. We didn't make any more episodes. I think that was, yeah, it's a year ago now.
yeah.
But I think everyone just had like schedule conflicts and like just doesn't work out.
I'm
So,
I'm sure it's
but no.
extremely hard. Are where are they coming from generally? Are they just in like very different parts of the world?
So the two people who were in that video,
Mhm.
my two co-hosts were Kiran, who is my friend from home, and he's pretty available. Uh, to do another episode. But Red Queen Miku,
Mhm.
she's an online friend. She actually debunks MatPat videos as well.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so she's great, but she's kind of taking a break, and she's really busy with other things, and she's moving more into Sonic now than Mario. So there's that whole like,
Hmm.
you know, um,
She just like me
so
for real in a way, because I've also been interested in Sonic a lot lately. Did you see the
yeah.
murder mystery thing?
Yeah, well, I saw it. I haven't actually like looked into it any further than it exists.
It's legitimately such a good game. Like, it's so cute. Um yeah, I wish that they would do literally anything close to that for Mario in terms of like characterization. Um
That would be fun.
cuz it's just
I
it's really cute to just see them interact and stuff. Um
Yeah, I saw people making Mario art of like based in the game.
yeah.
Is really cute.
Yeah,
Um,
all the drawings are just also super cute. They got people who do the IDW comics to work on it and
uh,
stuff. So it that's
no wonder they look so good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Remember when there was going to be a Mario? I think there was going to be a Mario Archie comic.
There was a pitched Mario Archie comic,
Yeah.
which Nintendo didn't want to do. And I'm kind of like based on what the plot outline was, I'm kind of glad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel like they had a good sort of like opening arc, but then beyond that, so like just some odd decisions from what
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like you know it's it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, not everything gets made, and Nintendo like especially like before the last 5 or so years, well, maybe even last decade. we're like obviously super protective of the IPs and stuff. So stuff like that just didn't happen.
The stuff that they've already like done with the movie with like Fire Donkey Kong and stuff is just kind of blowing my mind. Like I don't think there's some people online who are like, oh, this is like clearly this is setting up Cacletta or whatever, and it's like I don't think in a million years they would do that, but I do think
Are people saying Cacletta is being set up for like a movie sequel?
I don't think specifically her, but they are saying that like yeah, I know, but like but I think they are being
Don't
like,
get me wrong, I'd love that. I'd love
I would be
sequel.
over the moon because
Yeah.
I love those games so much. But yeah, no, I don't think anyone is saying that specifically Caclet. Although I don't know.
I think I've seen more Punch Out representation in the movie than like Mario RPG representation. You know,
Absolutely.
like I think that's more the angle they're going for. And I mean, it makes sense. I'm pretty sure that the writers are all like, you know, 80s kids, Super Show, Punch Out, Duck Hunt. Like that's all the angle that they're pulling from. And then also like they were saying in interviews and stuff, they've played like some modern games. So like obviously 3D World is having a strong influence on the design of the Mushroom Kingdom, which is funny because 3D World takes place outside of the Mushroom Kingdom. But
yeah, I was gonna mention that.
You know,
That's a bit funny, but I guess aesthetically you're wanting to unify.
Yeah, sort of capture that essence. And I mean, it is actually I collaborated with Dan Nintendude on a video very recently.
Yeah, I saw
about the Mario movie and how it differs from the game canon.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun to make, and it's so funny because in the comments everyone's either like there are three takes. Mario has no canon, and therefore the movie is or isn't canon based on that. The other take is the movie is obviously canon because Shigeru Miyamoto is producing it, and the third one is the movie obviously isn't canon. This video is pointless.
Yeah,
so,
that like word of God thing with that people do with Miyamoto is so interesting.
Yeah, it's incredibly interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, isn't there any room for for like gray area between any of those three takes? Like I don't know.
I think I'd like to get those three takes in a room together and have them kind of hash it out instead of having to, you know, like make a pinned comment saying like, look, this is what people are saying, but like, you know, the video still has good reason to exist because people are still saying all of this stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting that Miyamoto thing, because like I feel Mario literally Shigeru Miyamoto tries not to claim Mario as just his. You know, he's always like from the very beginning. There's been so many other people involved, Tezuka, and then like later Koizumi, and they're all Mario is and always has been a collaborative world. And I think boiling it down to, oh, he created Mario, therefore he has the final say, is just a little silly.
Yeah.
Like especially since he hasn't been that involved in Mario games since like he hasn't been a director since 64.
Yeah.
He hasn't been like since Sunshine. I think he hasn't like actively taken part in development. He's just a quote unquote creative fellow. So I feel like he definitely has an influence, of course, and he's definitely always there, and he's making sure that things are true to the world and to the characters, but he's not the be all and end all of Mario, and especially not of Mario canon, because he just doesn't have that much of an interest in it.
Yeah. No, yeah, this is true. Like clearly his priorities lie somewhere else. So I don't know why people think that he would even like care that much to make de facto statements that are immediately canon because he says so, you know?
Exactly. I always think it's funny when you look at a Miyamoto interview, and this applies to Zelda as well, because he's created Zelda, he's very involved in Zelda. But whenever he's asked a lore-related question in any interview about any game that he's worked on, he always either diverts the answer to it being sort of an IP related or gameplay related answer.
Right.
Or he gives a lore answer which is completely wrong
Yeah.
and makes no sense. And then other people have to come out afterwards and correct him
Yeah.
on what he said.
That's
It's
really
very funny.
Yeah. He's you
Like, I
know,
mean,
he's a game designer like through and through, you know?
he is, yeah,
And and and,
he's
and the
he's
thing
created all these
is,
great characters, but
yeah. Like yeah,
he's not. He's just not a story really like a focused guy.
he's a game designer, he's a character designer, yeah.
Yeah,
Something that your comment actually like, and that the timeline, which is the other thing that I just want to bring up because I think it's incredible. The
thank you.
I mean, look at this. Like, you need to understand about Sean's timeline. People watching the video. The Game and Watch games are on this thing. The fucking Excite Bike is on this thing. Weren't there the Excite Bike levels where you can play as Mario characters sometimes?
Yeah, there's an Excite Bike game for the Satellaview, which
Yes.
In which you play as Mario characters the entire time. It's but it was like released, as Satellaview games were. It was like streamed,
Yeah.
more or less. So like you'd have like different seasons, and then it was like unplayable after the Satellaview service ended. So but it was entirely based on based on the original Excite Bike, but it was Mario characters, Mario, Peach, Wario, playing against Koopa Troopas.
Yes.
And that, at least in my mind, is where the Excite Bike arena in Mario Kart 8 comes from.
Yeah. Here it is. God,
Yep, that's the one. And it's funny because it's a Japanese title, so you wouldn't even know it's Excite Bike.
Yeah, I had to literally I was looking at it exactly like you see me looking at it right now, and I hovered over it. Which also shout out to just the design of this is incredible. Like the graphic design of it is incredible. But also just even like the little UI things, like when I hover over the thing, it says the title in English, which is really just ingenious. Yeah, definitely look at this.
All done by Lady Sophie 17, who's on Tumblr.
Yes.
Very good friend of mine, works on all the maps and graphics and everything that we do. And she has these great posts on like the ancient kingdoms of Mario and different locations and their histories, and super cool blog. So
cool. Is that this cartographer's office one?
That is, yes.
Okay, great. Yes. I've been meaning to look at her work. This is incredible. Look at this. This is just so satisfying to look at for me, because it's like, oh, I know somebody's thought of it.
I've seen it dozens of times, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, I have to see every little detail of the map. It's so cool.
Truly. Oh, look. Oh my god. This is like a Nature Institute document.
Yeah, this is more like headcanon stuff, but it's still super cool. I was like, you should put that on the blog.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god, I love this. Yeah, what a beautiful and yeah, also like, again, graphic design wise.
That one's mine, actually.
Oh, good job. Jeez.
That was based on the Splatoon relationship chart. I was just like, oh, Mario could have one of these.
Yeah, because that looks really cute.
A lot of people don't get their relationships right.
This is true. Yeah, people thinking that Wario and Waluigi are related. How do you describe it here? Is a reluctant sports partner. Yeah, I mean, that's all we could really say. Yeah, until somebody says differently. But it's probably not going to be Miyamoto.
Probably not. No.
Yeah, that's why that Mario Myths video and like the stuff about him being their quote unquote papa and stuff, it's just funny to me, because like obviously the truth is more of a it's more of a Marvel DC type thing. Like collaborative storytelling is just like that.
Yeah,
Oh, and also what I was
exactly.
going to say earlier is that like your comment made me really think about how like how much storytelling is possible just in pure game design and in like non-traditional forms of narrative, because it's
Yes.
clear that there was like a ton of storytelling going on, like even in these Game and Watch games, you know.
Yeah.
And part of it is in context with the other stuff here. Like it would make less sense if we didn't have you know, if for example if this Mario cement factory didn't have Safari and Cookie like sandwiching it.
Surrounding it. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's just it is telling a story. It's just not in the traditional form, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's always really interesting when whenever we're having a conversation on Marioverse about you know, canon or whatever, and people are always like, "Oh, but Mario Kart shouldn't be canon. Mario Kart is no story."
Mm-hmm.
And like, I get where they're coming from. Absolutely, it doesn't really, it's not the story in the same way that Super Mario Bros. Is a story, or
Right.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is a story, but it still is a story in the sense that it is telling events that occurred in a fictional universe.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and I think Mario Kart. People don't give Mario Kart enough credit. Mario Kart does so much for the world building.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's something
without
that I
without
also
Mario Kart,
really like internalized when I was reading the timeline here, because it just yeah, it absolutely does so much.
yeah, it's just it's crazy because like there's so many characters and locations and even like things like brands in Mario Kart that just add such depth to the universe,
Uh-huh.
and fill in these little timeline gaps and elaborate on where things went and how things happened, and like even it's really funny. Dry Desert from Mario Kart Double Dash came back in Mario Kart 8, and
Uh-huh.
when they came back, they changed the surrounding like ruins and statues to be Hammer Bros. And then
Oh.
that was like, oh, there's a I guess there was a Hammer Bros like Koopa settlement in Dry Desert, which itself like connects back to Paper Mario. This is pulling from the Ancient Kingdoms post that I made with Sophie that I
Uh-huh.
mentioned earlier. But yeah, so the Hammer Bros had this kingdom, and then Mario Tennis Aces comes out a few years later,
Right.
and again the Hammer Bros kingdom appears, and it's expanded upon. We learn it's called the Kingdom of Basque, and they were really tennis obsessed,
Uh-huh.
and they found a mystical tennis racket, and it led to the downfall of the kingdom. Um, and to summarize, uh, um, and then Mario Kart Tour just came out with Dry Ruins for Mario Kart Wii,
Oh
and they've
yeah.
updated all of the statues there, and they're the same Hammer Bros statues. They're matching the Basque ones, you
Oh
know.
my
So like
god.
it's all there's a lot of thought and detail that goes into this. I think like they could have just made the statues anything, but the fact that they went back and remodeled them so that they were the same as the ones that were already in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Tennis Aces, that's just an extra level of commitment to
Yeah.
the world building, I think,
Like that's actually the perfect example, cuz it's like yeah, that's an example of them going literally like above and beyond, but not in a traditional way. Like it's not just because every game isn't an RPG doesn't mean that there's not story being told there. It's just being told in a different and like more subtle and nuanced way for sure. If you
Exactly.
look at it
Yeah.
like that, it's actually a lot more like elevated in a way, because
Mhm.
you have to look and pay
Yeah.
attention.
It's all in the small details.
Yeah.
It's not like there's long pages of lore blurbs and essays stuck into the games. Like and sometimes they do have little things like that, but they're always, I guess they're always grounded in
Yeah.
the sense that when you look at Super Mario Galaxy has a lot of lore packed into Rosalina's story,
Right.
but again, that's like an in-universe story that Rosalina is telling to Mario,
Yeah.
and that's the context of that. And in Super Mario Odyssey, so much lore in the brochures.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people just miss it, which is really funny. But so much was put into that. But again, they're in universe brochures that Mario gets from the Crazy Cap stores. Like like they contextualize it in a way that it makes sense for Mario to be learning about this stuff, and everything else before that came from character dialogue or again just the visual storytelling. So it's super interesting the way that they tell Mario stories. I don't think there's much else like that.
No,
out there.
No, I don't think so. Like, even by a long shot, it's kind of incredible. And just the way that you characterized it right there, and then also in your comment, it really like opened my eyes to that. And I wonder why. Like, do you have any theories as to why people like miss that? Like, why do you think I went so long like not really internalizing that? Is it just because I'm not paying close attention enough?
I don't think so. I think people are I think people come into Mario with the sort of assumption that it has no canon because there's like three main arguments I think that people make that I come across. Number one is that Mario is made for kids, and so they didn't have like a connected universe in mind. And to that, I think that's a little ridiculous because like lots of things that are quote unquote made for kids have like rich world building and narratives, and some of the most popular cartoons of the last decade are made for kids but enjoyed by everyone. Like people analyze them and put theories about what's going to happen next. It's not just for kids. And like Nintendo envisions Mario as being for everyone, and I know that's like people will be like, yeah, but that just means for kids, but it's really not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I think there's an anecdote. Shigeru Miyamoto, like in the 90s, was so sick of people saying that Mario was for kids, that he started like making like subtle changes to the character. Like he banned Mario using the peace sign. So like Mario since like the Lost Levels up until like Mario 64 was always using the peace sign, like when he would like get a star or whenever there was a victory or whatever. And then after that point, he stopped. And that's because Miyamoto thought it was too childish for Mario to make a peace sign. Which
for
is so
Mario to espouse peace, like, interesting. But like as
they finally brought it back in Odyssey. I think Odyssey is the first game in like 2 decades for Mario to use a peace sign in, which is hilarious to me, but also it's kind of nice. It's come back.
It did. That's another like really subtle reason why that game is so nostalgic. I mean, obviously it's making callbacks upon callbacks, with the outfits and just everything, but
I think to me Mario Odyssey was when I began to really notice that there was more to it. Because like when I was younger, I thought everything was canon. I thought that the Super Mario Bros. Super Show was canon. I thought that King Koopa in the Super Show was Bowser's father.
Right.
No, that's nonsense. But I think it later on. Then I was like, okay, I still think that some of these things are like. It took me a long time to kind of understand which things fit in and which things didn't. And eventually, I just kind of realized that okay, all of the things that work and are consistent with each other are all of the things that Nintendo has published. All the things that Nintendo themselves have had like their fingers in. And I think that makes all the difference, because if you look at the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, you look at the staff, not a single member of Nintendo staff. You look at Hotel Mario, not a single member of Nintendo staff. You look at Mario is Missing, not a single member of Nintendo staff. Like, if you look at Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, Shigeru Miyamoto was a producer.
Right.
That's the difference, I think. And like there's these people that they bring onto games to keep things consistent with the overall world. They have an actual team for that. Which is crazy. And a lot of people then say again.
Oh no! I was just gonna ask, like, do you know what they call that team?
I actually don't know because they go by different names on
Right.
different games.
Yeah.
So,
So
but I've
so
seen
they
them.
don't have like a dedicated, because I remember in the credits for that Sonic Murder Mystery thing, I saw, and I think it was probably in Frontiers 2 and like some recent Sonic games.
Mhm.
I've seen like director of lore credits. I can't remember exactly
Yeah,
what it was called, but like there are some people at Sega whose job it is to keep the Sonic lore like consistent, probably in not quite negotiation, but like, conversation
mhm.
with Sega higher ups, because I know that they've made some decisions, or it's been theorized that they've like, vetoed some
Yeah.
things. But yeah, but it doesn't seem like, if that is at Nintendo, that's maybe not like one dedicated.
It's certainly not what they would call it. They do have. I think they call it. It's like it's more akin to an IP team,
Mm-hmm.
which keeps things kind of in order. But it is like I think that when you look at like different projects that they do, sort of outside of the core Nintendo companies, like EAD, EPD, whatever. The If you look at like say Next Level Games or Intelligent Systems or Alpha Dream, rest in peace.
Yes,
Um,
truly. God.
um, you always see that they assign somebody from Nintendo to the project, and then they have like Nintendo staff, and there's a constant communication between the companies on how to handle the game and what decisions they're going to make. I think Kensuke Tanabe is on. He worked on like Luigi's Mansion 3,
Yeah.
and he's involved with the modern Paper Mario's, and then like that applies to Zelda as well. Like I think was he on the Link's Awakening remake, which was done by Grezzo,
Yeah,
something
I
like
think
that.
so. Uh-huh.
Um, I could be wrong there, but I think I heard that. So like I think that there is just that level of communication and attention to detail and consistency that they do put in, because of course they want their characters to be the same
Mm-hmm.
across their appearances. Um, but yeah, so sorry, back to what I was saying. I think uh, yeah, the reason why the other reasons why people just assume Mario doesn't have continuity or canon is just they think Mario lore is contradictory,
Right.
and I think that itself stems from Mario being such a big thing,
Yeah.
you know. Um, like they just like either they just think there's too much that
Mm-hmm.
it couldn't possibly be quite consistent,
Right.
or they include things like the Super
Mm-hmm.
Show, which going back to what I was saying, obviously then there's going to be contradictions,
Right.
because Nintendo themselves were barely involved, and I think like people point to like Bowser in Mario spin-offs and go like, oh, he would never play sports with Mario. That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like Bowser is very explicitly evil in the
Mm-hmm.
sports games.
Yeah.
He's and everything he does is really in character with how he's characterized in the RPGs and even the main series. I think people miss that Mario comforts Bowser when they're both heartbroken at the end of Super Mario Odyssey.
Uh-huh.
Mario helps Bowser turn back to normal in Bowser's Fury. He has no obligation to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
Mario's just a really nice guy. He I think something I've said for a few years now is that Mario would probably see Bowser as his worst friend rather than his greatest enemy.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah. Worst friend.
yeah, and I feel like Bowser would disagree with with
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. I mean, Bowser
But
would. Yeah.
Bowser's also a petty man child
Yeah.
who want to beat Mario at literally anything he possibly can. If you gave Bowser the opportunity to kill Mario, or sorry, not kill Mario, but maybe like to pulverize Mario and then gloat and do a Fortnite victory dance on top of him, I feel like Bowser would love that, but he'd get equal gratification from beating Mario in a tennis match
Uh-huh.
and getting to hold the trophy over Mario's head and be like, yeah, well, look at me, I'm better than you, Mario. Like I think Bowser is just he's that petty, he's that childish.
It's a pissing contest. It's a constant pissing
It
contest
really
for
is.
him.
It really is for him. Um, Bowser's such an interest. He's like my favorite character. I think he's so interesting. He's got a great story, great motivations, um, and he's just super well characterized in the games. I feel like in that he's got like equal parts evil and goofy. Like he's not something that you can just like he's not somebody that you can mess with and get away with that.
Yeah.
But also, it's really there's parts where you just can't take him seriously because he is childish and goofy and fun. And then he's got like he's evil. He tries to take over the universe, but he's also really good to his people.
Yeah.
At least in the best way he can be for how he was raised.
Yeah, in the way that his pride will allow him to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And his ego.
And I think, and that's why his minions don't fear him; they adore him. They literally, they would jump into a bottomless pit for him because they just think he's that cool and he's that good to them, and that's like it's such an interesting relationship. I love the new. Like a lot of the newer RPGs have had such a focus on Bowser and the minions and their relationship, and I love that. Minion Quest,
yes, Minion Quest,
Bowser Jr.'s Journey. Even like Paper Mario: The Origami King, like chapter 5, the entire Shangri Spa section. Like it's completely minion focused, and I love that. I love the way they interact with each other and with Mario and with Bowser. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's really cute.
I'd kill for more of that.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping for some of that in the movie. It seems like it gave me a little twinge of disappointment, and I'm saying this literally like the day before the movie comes out, so they might go a completely different direction. I have no idea. But in one of the trailers, Bowser forgot what the Spinies were called. And I've seen a couple people online too be like, oh, that's kind of disappointing, and like that feels kind of out of character for Bowser because like no, Bowser knows who they are. I don't know how I feel about that, but it did give me like a little twinge of something. I don't know what.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I think it's just. To me, that feels like a joke for the audience rather than a joke for the
right.
That makes sense in universe. You know, it's like because maybe the audience doesn't know what Spinies are.
Yeah,
I've seen people propose that instead of Spinies, what if Bowser said that to like Snailicorns or something? From New Super Mario Bros. Because who the hell knows what a Snailicorn is? So like, and I think even Bowser would be like, because they're such uncommon enemies. And there's such weird looking enemies that Bowser might just say whatever those things are in that context. But I like Spinies have been there since Super Mario Bros. They're in like almost every main series game. They're also one of Bowser's main minions in the games. And what's more is they're Koopas, which is what Bowser is.
Yeah, they represent like not only a major like force of his military of sorts, but also like yeah, they are literally related to him, probably. So,
yeah, like if they were, God, I don't know. Even if they were Goombas, I would be like a little more lenient because, like, okay, Goombas are mushroom people, not Koopas. So maybe he just hasn't familiarized himself with them yet at this point in the timeline of the movie world. But I
guess
know.
This is an origin story. But it does seem like It does seem like his forces are quite developed, for whatever that's worth. Although I guess they always were in the games too. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think it's interesting in the games how like at least how I've characterized it on my timeline is that Bowser goes through like phases of like his army being like a little bit weaker and then like building it back up,
which is
especially
realistic.
early on. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense from like a a narrative point of view. But I think it's funny how the games align in that way, even if it wasn't intentional. In that, like in some games, he seems to have less resources. After previous large invasions,
Yeah.
where where he was doing quite well for himself.
Uh-huh. I also like how that can justify like re-releases of the games. Like another wild thing about this timeline is that like so like Super Mario Bros. Deluxe is on here, and like the Lost Levels are on here, and what is this one? Is this what system was this
That
for?
is that is the Game and Watch Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, so like the fucking Game and Watch Super Mario Brothers is on here, you know,
Yeah,
and it's like I like that's sound logic to me, um, to justify
I
their being on the timeline.
yeah I the reason why that one goes last for me is because he doesn't transform the Toads. He only kidnaps Peach,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the minions that he has left in at least according to what the game shows us, are Lakitus, who don't even throw spinies; they throw hammers,
Oh, huh.
um, and bullet bills. I'm pretty sure
God.
those are the only two enemies in the game. And to me, like okay, he has bullet bills left over, so he's
Uh-huh.
using those, and he has Lakitus because like Lakitus are probably in abundance because Mario doesn't kill them that easily in Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels,
Yeah,
and
they have survivability.
maybe all the Hammer Bros have been defeated, and so have all the Spinies. So he just gave the Lakitus the Hammer Bros hammers and
God.
started like getting them to throw them down at Mario. I love the idea of that.
Yeah,
Um,
he's scrambling and using what he has. He's a man child with a whole army and like territories throughout. Um, I also find it interesting. This is a tangent, but I
so go
find
ahead.
it really interesting how in this timeline Mario, like we see Mario become like a property owner,
Hmm.
and that's just so interesting to me for Mario, who's like such a working class kind of guy. I like that the movie is kind of seeming to capitalize on that a little bit. Um, but
Yeah.
but yeah, like in Mario Party, um, Mario wins it, and it is named Mario Land, which it is. And then you put Mario Land here. It's like that's kind of brilliant. Um,
Yeah.
Truly,
That's a fun one.
yeah.
I
It's just
I love
like,
that whole like kind of arc
uh huh,
that I've sort of made there. It's one of my favorite parts. In that he comes back from Mario Land, and then he arrives back to the Mushroom Kingdom of Wrecking Crew 98,
yeah,
which is like Mario. That game opens with Mario returning home from another country,
uh huh,
and we don't know where he was, but like within the game itself. But he returns home, and Bowser, in the time he was gone, has built skyscrapers everywhere,
mm-hmm,
and Mario arrives back and is like, okay, the skyscrapers are killing all of the wildlife, and so he like goes back to his house from Mario RPG. It's the same house,
mm-hmm,
and he opens up a little chest under his bed, and he pulls out his hammer from Wrecking Crew, and so he just goes around the Mushroom Kingdom destroying all these buildings. And Foreman Spike is there, and he's like, "Remember me? I'm your
yeah.
original rival from the Wrecking Crew." And he's like, "If you can beat me another 2 minutes, I'll tell you the location of a secret base." And then
God.
Mario beats him, and he has like a little meltdown, but then he calms down, and he's like, "That was the most fun I've had in a long time."
Mm-hmm. There's
And
so
Foreman and
many.
Spike
No, you go.
go okay. Foreman Spike like himself has like a great arc. I think
Uh
for such
huh.
a minor character, he's an asshole in Wrecking Crew. He's an asshole in Wrecking Crew 98, but realizes that he has like a respect for Mario.
Right.
And then he disappears for ages,
Uh
and then he
huh.
comes back in Mobile Golf, and he's gotten like old and fat, but
Yeah.
he's also become nicer according to the manual,
Uh huh.
and so he just goes golfing with Mario.
Yeah.
So like,
He's like, I see you as a colleague, as an equal, a working
yeah,
class equal. Um, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another reason why I'm really excited that he's in the movie, because it's just like, oh, they could put that at a narrative forefront that like is more traditional,
Yeah.
which
I'm
you
I'm
know.
I'm super I'm super excited to see him in the movie, but I'm also worried beyond belief because
Yeah.
um Ormond Spike in the games he doesn't have he doesn't have much artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um but the Super Mario wiki for the last few years has used this guide artwork for him,
Yeah.
and this has become the internet's sort of common uh, perception of Foreman Spike over
Uh-huh.
like since then. Um, and it's why the reason why I don't like it is because that guide art is from a guide,
Mm-hmm.
which it doesn't actually reflect how he looks in the games or how he looks in the manual art or
Right.
so like if you look at like his mobile golf design, um that's much more accurate to or like yeah or even the Wrecking Crew manual design,
Uh-huh.
it's much more accurate to how I would hope to see him depicted in the movie,
Yeah.
um over the weird guide art. I don't know.
It
But
seems a
that's
little
probably
bit
just me.
like, no, I agree, and I also think that like, yeah, this NES remix stamp, and then this, I'm just interpreting like pixels. This is obviously like an 8-bit sprite, but like,
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
if this is our indication of how he's going to look in the movie, at least somewhat, um it it seems like he'll probably look like this. um
The stamp, sorry, the emblem is directly based on his Wrecking Crew sprite, yeah, his NES
right.
sprite.
Uh-huh.
So
So,
I don't think that's necessarily how he's going to look in person in the movie.
oh,
Um,
that makes
Also,
sense.
it's really
Yeah.
interesting. His his name in Japanese is Blackie. That's why he has a BL on his hat
Uh-huh.
in mobile golf. But for the movie, even in Japan, he's still called Spike.
Huh.
So I'm wondering, are like the Japanese audience is going to get that he's the same guy? It's just an interesting change.
Yeah, I bet that there's a lot of give and take for the Japanese and American audiences in making that movie and choosing what stuff to put in it, because yeah, your mileage may vary basically. It's like what like Western audiences on the whole don't even seem to be paying attention to these things. Like there's a very small niche of people who actually are. um but Yeah. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
there he is again. Um yeah.
That's his mobile golf sprite. I love how he looks in that game.
Yeah, I
He's
like
got
him
great
a lot
animations and
too.
stuff.
He looks cute.
Very charming.
Mhm. He's matured. Um yeah. I yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, I'm
it's
sure
only
that,
going to be a day or two.
yeah,
So
literally. I haven't gotten tickets to see it yet, but I'm going to. I have a theater like literally in walking distance from my house. But there's so many like little moments like that in reading this timeline. Like the Mario Party, Mario Land, and Wrecking Crew SMRPG connections. Like there's so many little eye-opening moments like that, and I don't even have to, like, I did kind of go back and cross-reference some of these things, just because I was like, man, not even because I doubted you or anything. It's just because like
mhm.
I was like, oh, I don't, those there are some things that my brain cannot recall an image of,
Yeah.
like Mario's house being the same as it is in Mario RPG. Like Mario RPG is one of my favorite games. I don't think I've played Wrecking Crew 98.
Most people haven't.
Yeah, no, most people haven't, and I think if I have played it, it was probably on an emulator or something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this was fascinating. So I went back and like checked that, and I was like, yeah, that's absolutely true. Same thing in your original comment. you had mentioned Peach using levitation powers in the Mario Tennis like trophy animations, and I was like, I don't remember those at all. When was that? And then yeah, like I I went back, and she does right here. Yeah, look at that. It's like, wow, they've been planting this stuff for years.
Yeah.
For literally always. And yeah, there were so many little eye-opening moments like that for me throughout the comment. Like uh well, first of all, this oh, I'm jumping around a ton. I'm sorry.
No, it's
But
okay. Go ahead.
to address something that we were saying, like generally we can agree that Mario is a stand-up guy.
Mhm.
How do you reconcile with him, like being pretty mean to a gorilla back in the
So
day? Do you think that that's indicative of character development? Because it seems like even though Donkey Kong, OG Donkey Kong, like antagonized him a fair bit,
mhm.
and you could see it as retaliatory, like I don't know. It's hard for me to reconcile, you know, Donkey Kong locking or Mario locking Donkey Kong up, and like positioning
I
Donkey Kong Jr. as the protagonist of that. You know, like where do you how do you deal with
so
that?
the way I look at it is, if Donkey Kong was Wario,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and Wario comes to a construction site, grabs Mario's girlfriend and climbs up to the top, and then destroys the construction site and starts throwing barrels at like innocent people,
Uh huh.
Wario would probably go to jail.
Yeah. So
And
this is Gorilla Jail.
Donkey Kong is Cranky Kong, but he's also he. I think he's really intelligent. You know,
Uh huh.
he's as intelligent as a human being. He fully knew what he was doing. He was literally, according to Shigeru Miyamoto, pranking Mario. Like this was his idea of a funny thing to do just for the shits.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think what's even funnier is when you look at Cranky Kong in the Donkey Kong Country games, he does the exact same thing that Mario did to him with no qualms. He he locks an Espresso the ostrich in a cage, and then
Oh.
forces it to like race for him in
Yeah.
like illegal ostrich racing. Um, that bird did nothing bad. That bird
Yeah.
is completely innocent, and he raised it from a baby in a cage, and
Damn. Justice
and
for fucking.
for espresso, yeah.
Yeah.
And then like he just like he claims that he'd never have gotten captured in his day. When Donkey Kong gets captured in Country 2,
Mm-hmm.
when like literally he did,
Yeah.
you know, um,
He's
twice.
just an old man.
Yeah, it's I love Cranky Kong.
Yeah.
He's such a funny character, but I think he doesn't really he just does things that are mean for fun,
Uh huh.
and I think he got what was coming to him, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that Mario was also in the wrong for kind of taking things into his own hands and
Right.
locking Donkey Kong in a cage. But I think that Mario has learned from that, because if we look at the Mario versus Donkey Kong games,
Uh huh.
the modern Donkey Kong kidnaps three Toads and steals from Mario's business
Yeah.
and um, destroys the factories and stuff. And Mario forgives him.
Mm-hmm.
He gives him one of the toys for free, and he forgives him for kidnapping the Toads, and they go on to become buddies. So I think that is growth for Mario.
Yeah.
I think Mario back then would have been in the mindset of this person did something bad, they need to be locked up for the
Right.
safety of others. I think now Mario is more people can change, and can be forgiven for what they've done.
Mario believes
I
in
think
restorative justice now.
yeah, yeah, I think he does. I think that that's fully the track he's gone on.
Mario
Um,
is no longer an advocate for the carceral state, as
mhm.
evidenced by him no longer locking that gorilla up. And Cranky has always been cranky, true to his namesake. He's not just cranky in age. It appears that yeah, he's always been a bit cranky, huh?
Anyways, I mean, I think it's funny that Cranky Kong and Mario were supposedly buddies,
Mm-hmm.
like before Donkey Kong happened. Again, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. Was it Miyamoto said it in an interview, or was it like from a blurb that he worked on, or something like that? But they were pals. They played hockey together in
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Hockey, and then Donkey Kong just thought it would be hilarious to epically prank Mario this one day
Yeah.
by kidnapping his girlfriend and throwing barrels at him.
And he took it too far.
And maybe that was like, maybe Cranky had some like deeper issues from his time in the circus,
Uh-huh.
where Mario did. I believe that's where they met.
Yeah.
And where Mario went to this circus near the construction site.
Yeah, this was
saw
a
the
really
show.
important game in this timeline.
Yeah, sees the show,
Truly.
sees Donkey Kong in it, thinks he's hilarious when he gets like burned with flaming balls of fire, and then and then apparently Donkey Kong was Mario's pet as
Uh-huh.
well, which morally not so sure how that works, because again he's an intelligent being.
Yeah,
But
if they're as intelligent as a human, yeah, that's
mhm. But also, like, if you look at, say, Paper Mario Color Splash, there's a Toad who has a Koopa Paratroopa as a pet in a cage. Um,
oh.
so I feel like this sort of stuff happens pretty commonly in Mario's
God.
world,
Yeah.
as weird as it is. And even if you look at like other pets in the series, like dogs and chain chomps, and
Yeah, I was gonna mention Chain Chomps.
a lot of them are also intelligent.
Yeah.
They speak in barks, but they're also pets. I think it's kind of just a cartoony, weird anthropomorphism logic thing.
Right.
But so Mario meets Donkey Kong at the circus. He buys him probably,
Mm-hmm.
and then they become buddies. And I think that it's interesting how that all plays out. And also, I feel like there's a lot of lore which to me indicates that Kong's used to be this really great, like powerful civilization
Uh-huh.
in the Metro Kingdom region of the planet.
Oh, interesting.
And that due to the rise of like humanity and the Kremlings and stuff, and then like wars over territory surrounding that, the Kongs have been completely wiped out, aside from like the Kong family that we know in the games.
Right.
And so like I think it's really interesting how the movie has this huge, powerful Kong civilization, which is in my mind how the Kongs used to be back thousands of years ago, and how it's completely different from the small Kong community that we know from the country games.
Right, the DK crew. So the Kongs got colonized?
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence in the games to suggest that Kongs were taken from their homes and brought to other countries for entertainment and to be used as slaves or prisoners of war. And then like there's like all this like debris from like planes.
Right.
And there's like army equipment and factories and stuff around the Kong archipelago.
Yes.
And a lot of that itself has like Metro Kingdom iconography. So like red girders and oil barrels and even the regular barrels that we see in the Donkey Kong games.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. And then like of course some Kongs like Funky Kong has used all this debris and all this tech that he's found to like make his own planes and stuff, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
Like I just think it's kind of wild the total difference. It's like if the movie's version of the Kong civilization is like, what if the Kongs had never been wiped out, or
Right.
whatever, you know?
It's
And I like,
Black Panther Kong. Well, no, I'm not going to compare. Yeah, that's a bad comparison.
yeah, probably that comparison.
No.
But it's super interesting, like just to see that difference, and it makes me like I'm not saying that it's definitive that the Kongs were wiped out or whatever, but I'm like there's a lot of like small little pieces of evidence that would suggest that the Kongs really had this vast, wealthy, powerful society, and now they live in like now there's like 12 of them, and they live in little shacks.
God, yeah, in tree houses.
Yeah,
man, yeah, that's dark. And you mentioned that also in one of your future comments that I was trying to find. But in regards to the Kong War thing,
the Great Ape War.
Yeah, the Great Ape War, which is just like, you know, we've clowned on it a couple of times in the comments of the original video, but also like in that sense, there is some evidence of some kind of imperialist
some kind of conflict
war going on.
Not necessarily the Great Ape War that the Donkey Kong fandom wiki describes, but definitely some war happened. We know that Mario took part in a war, and Mario's bombs away.
Yeah, which was also a huge eye-opening moment. I forgot that existed at all. And what does the Mario wiki say about Mario's bombs away? Yeah, I forgot this existed just entirely. Mario was a soldier, guys. These are the revelations that you can go to, even just on the Mario wiki itself. But I think that the timeline does such a good job at distilling it into I mean, obviously a linear format, but also like it makes you grapple with these ideas that, like, yes, Mario served military time. There he is.
I think it's funny because Mario in his sprites and in his artwork in this game looks probably more scared than we've ever seen him.
Yeah.
Which is why, in my mind, it makes so much sense for it to be so early on, and this is like where he sort of got his first proper adventure as an adult. You know, or I'm not going to call it an adventure because it really isn't.
War is hell.
It's a tragedy. But it's probably where he got some of his experience in fighting from, you know.
Do you think it was Vietnam?
He carries that. I don't think it was Vietnam. No, I think there's nothing in the game that suggests that, aside from like, oh, it is a recent-ish war at the time of the game's release, and they're wearing green, which is like green is like a common soldier color.
Yeah, like I suppose.
So I don't think.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily plant it in Vietnam. Also, yeah, like
Vietnam doesn't exist on Mario's planet, so
yeah. Well, that was the other thing I was gonna say is like, yeah, the Brooklyn retcon, it maybe wasn't like in place yet at this point, but even so, I would call this more Vietnam inspired than anything, and even that is tenuous because, like, yeah, again, people, it's a pretty common cartoon soldier thing to wear green.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that like smoking exists in Mario's world, and we only know from like 3 places.
Yeah, heavy smoker.
The heavy smoker in this game. There's an anti-smoking sign in the Bowser's Inside Story remake.
Oh.
In the Toadley Clinic, and also Dr. Krygor from WarioWare wrote a blog on why smoking is bad for you back in like 2003.
A blog? Where was the blog?
On the WarioWare the WarioWare sites, the old ones, used to have all the characters write these little diaries or blogs,
Oh, that's
which like gave
adorable.
like context for the games and like insights into their characters, and they're all canon. They're all on the Japanese websites, and they're all canon because they've been like acknowledged in the game since, which is so cool.
What the hell?
But yeah,
That's so cool.
one of them has Dr. Krygor talk about why smoking is bad for you. So
What a king,
um,
honestly. Like, wow. What a
yeah,
stand-up guy. He's
I,
yeah, he is a doctor. We forget that. Um yeah, so he would have a stake in that.
mhm.
Um that's incredible. But the anti-smoking side was only in the Bowser's Inside Story remake, huh? Not in the original.
Yeah.
Huh.
In the original game, it was a sign with a Dr. Mario virus and a big X over it. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
interesting.
And they replaced it in the remake with a cigarette and a big X over it.
I
Um,
wonder why they would do such a thing.
I have no idea.
Hmm.
Obviously, somebody on the Alpha Dream art team that year just wanted to put in some anti-smoking
Yeah,
imagery.
they had a real position on it.
Yeah,
Um
he's like,
yeah.
we can make a change. We can make a change with the worst selling Mario game since the Virtual Boy.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. God, I love that game so much. Oh,
yeah,
um,
I
God.
love it a lot, but you can really tell it was like rushed and it's quite rough around the edges.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Unfortunately,
It is sad. I think it deserves better. Um, yeah. Um, I had initially intended to go through the comment, but then I just started talking about the timeline, and it's various intricacies. But yes, definitely the takeaway from this section, and the takeaway from this video in general, is go read the timeline, because if you look at it like this, like, I'm not even necessarily saying that this is the definitive, like, or that this is the only way to interpret the events of the
and
game.
it's not. I as the person who wrote it, it is
Yeah.
not the only way to interpret the events. It is a way
Uh-huh.
for many games. Some places are quite definitive.
Yes.
And but I think it's clear from the descriptions which ones are definitive and which ones they have a little leeway with.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Um, I totally agree, and I think it's written that way very intentionally and, like, very thoughtfully, which I appreciate. But yeah, like, I do think it is fair to say that, like, if you read the events of the games in this order, if you read this timeline and consider it to be true, it is revelatory in a lot of ways.
mhm.
Because, again, like I mentioned, there are just these little, like, brain blast moments. The Mario Party e-reader game is in the timeline. Okay, that's all you need to know. Um, you'll never guess where Super Mario Brothers 2 is on this timeline. I'll give you a hint. It's not after 1 and before 3.
Actually, it's funny you bring that up.
Uh-huh.
Somebody, it's gonna sound crazy, but a YouTuber with like 50,000 subscribers made a video like going through my entire timeline.
Really?
Yes,
Where?
but it's gone now because I found out about it, and
Oh my
the reason
god.
why it's gone is because, well, one, it was made without my permission,
Sure.
which big no no.
Yeah, don't do
But
that.
uh, I God, it was written. The script was written by AI,
What?
and I was like, yeah. So the guy plugged my timeline into like an AI chat GPT or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it generated like an entire script, and the script was just full of like nonsense and errors because, of course, the AI is pulling from other online sources. So he got to Super Mario Bros. 2 in the timeline, and the AI script said it literally read like Super Mario Bros. 2 takes place after Super Mario RPG. It is commonly believed that it takes place between Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3. like it was like literally the next sentence contradicted the
Huh.
previous sentence just because the information was like pulled from obviously
Yeah,
other
all of these
sources.
sources. Yeah,
Um,
why would they think that was a good idea?
I feel like it was probably just getting out content for the week
Right, they
and
were just huh.
sort of, yeah. Um, but look, I contacted them and they were very happy to take it down. Um,
That's wild.
yeah. Um, and I was like, oh my God, like, because I felt bad at the beginning because it was like a 2 hour video and I was like, somebody put through, went through all of this stuff to write a script and, you know, but then
Yeah,
I was like, but
when
then
it
in the
was in
comments,
AI.
you said it was AI. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, to feel
Um,
less bad about that.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I would have done the same thing. That's wild. Yeah. That I think that's actually a good like distillation of how rampant the misinformation about Mario has become, and how like popular the interpretation that there is no canon or that the canon is completely contradictory has come. Because
Mhm.
if you let something that's pulling from all of these different sources do its thing, even if there is a source that gets it straight, so to speak,
Yeah.
it becomes nonsense.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because a lot of people, uh, another argument that I've just been reminded of is that the Super Mario Wiki does not consider Mario to have a canon,
Yes.
and and in one sense, of course, I completely get why because Mario doesn't. If you're making a wiki and you're covering like the real life franchise of Mario and all of its related media,
Uh huh.
then of course you do not need uh, any focus on the canonicity of games. It
Right.
just it's counterintuitive to what you're doing, and I think that it's an issue that Zelda Wiki and other wikis have is that they focus too much on canon and not enough on like all the weird side uh, tangents and merchandise and
Right.
stuff that exists.
Uh huh.
Um, and I love Mario Wiki. I think it's probably one of the best fan wikis in existence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of people then will go to this page and or just Google does Mario have a canon, and then this will be the first result,
Yeah.
and they'll say, well, look, Mario Wiki says Mario has no canon, therefore it doesn't have a canon. Um, and I don't get that because it's a fan wiki and they have a specific good valid reason for not considering any canon. That
Right.
it makes sense. The other big argument that people always pull is like this is what they think is the smoking gun.
Uh huh.
Um, apparently Shigeru Miyamoto said that Mario characters are actors,
Right.
so every game is a play or movie with no continuity, like Mickey
Uh
Mouse.
huh.
And my response to that is that Shigeru Miyamoto never said that,
Yeah.
and like certainly not in that way in response to a question of does Mario have a canon or not.
Right.
That one mostly spread due to I think it was a Polygon article which had a clickbait headline
Right.
from like a decade ago,
Yeah.
and people just read the headline, didn't investigate further. That's also why people think that the Kooplings are Bowser's adopted kids, because
Yes.
the headline was something like Miyamoto says Kooplings are adopted, Mario characters are actors. That was
Mm-hmm.
like the headline. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, it's a common fan theory as well. But if you read the actual article and what he said, you might want to like say actors specifically
Uh huh.
if you're looking for the
Oh
for
yeah.
the article.
Mario characters are actors. Oh, now they're just
Yeah, there we go. The cast is a troupe of actors.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, I thought that they
Bowser's
were
kids are
talking
adopted.
about the. I glanced at that and I thought that they were talking about the movie.
Yeah, so that's if you look at the original Game Informer interview, Miyamoto doesn't say the cast are actors.
Uh huh.
He doesn't say the Kooplings are Bowser's adopted kids. He says the Kooplings are not Bowser's kids at all.
Mm-hmm.
which and adopted kids, to be clear, are your kids.
Right.
Okay,
Yes, this
adopted
is
kids are just as
true.
much your kids
Mm-hmm.
as any other kids. And yeah, so Bowser Jr. is Bowser's only child. We do not know who the mother is. That is one of two retcons
Yes.
in the entire series. So
Uh-huh.
that is people often point to that as an inconsistency, but in my mind, they wouldn't have clarified that if it was, a proper inconsistency.
Right. Like it is a retcon is not an inconsistent, like it may be addressing something that was an inconsistency, but
Yes,
the purpose of a retcon is to rectify an
an
inconsistency.
inconsistency,
Yeah.
exactly. And I feel like it makes so much more sense now. Like I loved it when the Koopalings are Bowser's kids,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of Bowser being like the same age as Mario, having 8 kids seems a little unrealistic.
You
And also,
know?
Bowser doesn't have a partner or
Yeah.
anything. Bowser is very clearly single.
Yeah.
So it's like, um, yeah, there's that whole. Anyway, what I was saying was, in the original article, Miyamoto he isn't talking about the lore of the games. He doesn't say they are actors.
Right.
He said to a certain degree, he sees
Uh-huh.
the characters like one big family or maybe a troupe of actors.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's a simile,
Yeah, it's
you
it's
know?
it's it's a like, not a is.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I think it's about like the flexibility of the IP. Like Kenta Motokura said during the development of Super Mario Odyssey, it was something like, if you think it's fun to do, then it's within the realm of possibility. The
Uh-huh.
Mario IP is so strong that you can take Mario or a Mario franchise character and put them in pretty much any situation, and it makes it okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like that the Mario characters are so strong that they carry off any scenario.
Right.
And I think that's what that's it's very true, because
Mm-hmm.
Mario fits into RPGs and
Yeah.
sports games and adventure titles and puzzle games. And I think that's what Miyamoto was talking about there,
Mm-hmm.
in that it's like a family of characters. It's like they're actors in that, as an IP, they fit into all these different games. He's not literally saying, yes, in the lore, in the canon,
Right.
they are all actors and none of the adventures are real, because like nothing actually indicates that.
Is
There's
it so
no.
unbelievable to think that Mario is just like a really versatile guy? Like
Yeah.
that
And
he's
I
just
think.
capable of a lot of things. It like people it seems that some people are incapable of coming to that conclusion, like even thinking about that as a possibility, that he might just be very talented.
Yeah, and I think that's how they frame him on like all the official descriptions in his websites. It's like, um, they always bring up how Mario goes on adventures and stuff, but also because he's so athletic due to his adventures, that helps him be good at tennis and be good at golf and
Yeah.
soccer and
He's
all.
parkour master, and yeah, he's
Yeah,
like an Olympian. He's literally an Olympian.
yeah, and I think that Mario, yeah, Mario's had a lot of jobs
Mm-hmm.
and he's played a lot of roles, but I think it's funny in that same interview, that same Informer interview with Miyamoto, he says that Dr. Mario is not a legitimate doctor.
Right.
Like he explains that fact, because like a lot of people are like, well, when would Mario have had the time to get a doctor's license?
Yeah.
But no, he literally says that no, he's not a legitimate doctor. Like maybe he's a licensed pharmacist or something,
Right.
because he does go around giving pills to people.
Uh-huh.
Also said pills are vitamins. So
It's
I,
interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a snake oil salesman thing a little bit.
yeah, a little bit,
But
but they
also
do
you
work.
have to think
So
about how like medicine in this universe works, because it like medicine is literally a puzzle game. So or at
yeah,
least his form of medicine is a puzzle game. So yeah, it's strange. And then also like how the body works, or at least like Koopa bodies, um in terms of like,
so much fun.
yeah, Bowser is just has a whole ecosystem in there. So it makes you wonder, like, do other is that true for, like, does Luigi have a little platforming sections in his rib cage. Like what?
Probably. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I love to imagine that that's the case.
me
I hope it's the
too.
case.
Uh-huh.
But like, it's super fun. Like, I think actually a lot of the doctors in Mario are all like, all use this kind of like snake oily alternative medicine stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you, I think Superstar Saga, Mario gets like bean fever,
Uh-huh.
and he sends Luigi to like this ruin to get crabby grass and like
Yeah.
bring it back, and that's the cure, and that actually works.
It's
And
all
then like
herbal.
in Bowser Jr.'s journey, Bowser Jr.'s main quest in the game is to like make Skeletone Formula D,
Mm-hmm.
and he like goes around. He gets like a piece of the Giga Carrot and an Omega Onion from Cavi Cape and Ever Ice, which they never explain where it comes from, but Kamek had collected it for Bowser previously. Um, and like you mix all that together, and then it makes these little tablets, which apparently cure the blorbs and also make your bones soggy.
Yeah.
So,
Weird. But
yeah, and Bowser like overdoses on them and becomes Dry Bowser.
yeah, which I didn't see at all. Yeah, I hadn't played that yet.
Yeah, yeah,
But I recently just watched a long play of it, and yeah, it like Dry Bowser is fucking there.
yeah. It's great. It's crazy.
It's great. Like
And when Mario and Wario in Dr. Mario 64 overdose on the mega vitamins, like the main Dr. Mario capsules,
uh-huh.
and Mario becomes Metal Mario and Wario becomes Vampire Wario. Like all these medicines seem to have crazy side effects.
Huh.
Um,
Are power-ups medicine?
that's I mean, technically, yeah, because if you eat a super mushroom, it heals you, or if you eat a one-up mushroom, it revives you from a knockout. You know that there's a
Right, like in the RPGs they're sold
yeah.
as healing items.
Yeah, so
Huh.
I feel like all of the maybe that's why it's all like kind of herbal based, or like like all of these items that people are making medicine out of are power ups that people use,
Right, I
yeah,
guess
everywhere
I guess that is what
else.
herbal medicine is. It's naturally occurring medicine,
Yeah,
which is what that would be. Huh. Yeah? That I mean, that tracks.
yeah. I've never really thought about it before, but like that makes complete sense.
Yeah, that tracks. That this is how I felt reading like your entire comments and then also the timeline like as a whole. I was just I just kept being like, "Huh. Yeah? That makes sense. That actually
Yeah,
makes perfect sense." Um yeah, really interesting. Um Mario's belly button. Um I I felt real stupid. Um yeah, it's probably just being covered
yeah,
by his shorts. He's like normally you don't have high-waisted boxer shorts necessarily, but also like yeah, Mario's a little weirdo.
he's a tiny little man, and I
He's
think that
so
he probably
small.
pulls his pants up really high
Yeah,
when
he probably
you
can't
know.
find things in his size. Well, I guess that's not necessarily true because all the outfits in Odyssey are like perfectly tailored.
True.
But
Yeah,
like I don't know, maybe they're up high too. Maybe he's an above the belt kind of guy.
maybe.
Um
You know.
yeah, I
Um,
mean that's plausible, right?
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I think like a lot of people like a few years ago when Mario first seemingly didn't have a belly button and
Uh-huh.
Peach did,
Yeah.
were like, oh, that's because Mario is delivered by storks and Peach, but then Peach isn't. But I'm 90% sure that the intention for the Mario universe is that all sexual reproduction is done via stork delivery,
Yes.
and while asexual reproduction, like with Yoshi's, is just like eat a lot, lay an egg,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
um,
Eggs are
so
not really used for except for in the at the end of Yoshi's Island DS, right? When the baby Yoshi is born, the Star Child baby Yoshi is born.
Yeah, yeah. Beginning of Yoshi's story as well.
Right.
A few other games, Yoshi for the NES, um, Chef Modern version, the
Yeah.
Game and Watch Gallery game.
Uh-huh. God. Yeah,
Even
it's
like some of the Yoshis in Super Mario World are babies, right? When you
uh-huh.
hatch them.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so like clearly it's a thing that happens, but also like
yeah,
yeah, probably not in that way. Um
yeah, yeah.
where do you think this magical land where babies come from is, and what's the nature of this? Because if this is how literally all or almost all sexual reproduction works in Mario, where is it? Is it like another dimension? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think my belief is that there is because so the way it works, at least as far as I pieced together, is a couple both wish to the stars.
Uh-huh.
Stars are the creators of the Mario universe,
Right.
etc. Um, couple wishes to the stars for a baby. The wishes are received by the stars in Starhaven. Um, they use the star rod to wish a baby into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Baby appears in the clouds, and the storks fly up to this cloud place and take the babies and deliver them to their homes.
Yeah.
And obviously, this process probably doesn't happen like this. Process would probably take months,
Yeah.
if anything, because I think the babies kind of don't just pop in. I think they do have to probably grow a little bit,
Uh-huh.
or maybe there's like a whole production line of babies, and the storks have to come along
Conveyor
and
belt.
yeah, and they have to like sign like documents to make sure that they get them delivered to the correct house and all this stuff. Because like I think it seems like a really uh I don't know, like rudimentary system. In like the stork in Yoshi's Island has a map, like just a regular map, and he's flying around with his map,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
like
I was gonna say, like, is there a bureaucracy behind this? Because it kind of seems like if their solution was to just leave it to a tribal society of dinosaurs who are obviously very intelligent, but and also like something that this is kind of a tangent, but something that I always say is that like Yoshi is so cool because and like the Yoshi society is so cool because like they're omnivores. They had like food dropped in on their back, literally from the sky, divine intervention, and
yes,
they abstained. They took however long the events of Yoshi's Island took to daisy chain baby Mario back to his parents. Like
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Good for Yoshi
yeah,
and
it's
friends.
very very kind of them.
Very cool of them.
Um,
They're just cool guys.
And I like in the sequels they have like, oh, the Yoshis also want to get rid of Bowser or Baby Bowser or whatever because he's taken over the island. But
Right.
like in the original game, it is literally they have no reason to help this baby aside from the fact that the baby needs to be helped, and
It's
that's so
just out of the
nice.
kindness of their own hearts.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
incredible. That like that they
um,
even know where to go is wild. And
they imply that they know where to go partially due to the Stork's map,
right, the map.
but mainly because Baby Mario has a psychic link with Luigi that tells him Luigi's location at all times, and
At all times?
he leads the Yoshis to where Baby Luigi is, or like to the nearest path to where they can get to Baby Luigi, which is
So
like
this is why Mario is missing wouldn't happen.
I guess not.
Yeah. What about Luigi's
um,
Mansion?
Luigi's Mansion. Well, I think that Mario knows that Luigi is coming to get him in Luigi's Mansion
Okay.
before, like, and I feel like that's probably maybe the same thing. Also, maybe when they grew up, that psychic link faded. Maybe they're less aware of that now.
Psychic
But when they were
Link.
babies,
Yeah.
because it's Yoshi's, I think it's Yoshi's New Island, that specifies it's like they have a brotherly bond or like some like just a supernatural ability that allows them to tell where they are in relation to each other.
That's fascinating.
And I think because in Yoshi's New Island, Mario falls on the island and then immediately like starts crawling towards where baby Luigi is, and then the Yoshis like they notice him, and they all like surround him and they try to stop him from leaving. And they're like, oh wait, he must be trying to get somewhere. Let's follow him, or let's like let him lead the way.
Yeah, he just knows.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
that brother sense, like that. You hear about that kind of thing with twins. Didn't they describe them as twins in something?
They are twins. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're always twins.
They've always been twins. Huh?
Mario is the older twin, but they are twins.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah. Well, so they've got that twin sense.
Yep.
Which is taken like very literally in the Mario universe, as are a lot of things. Yeah. I also like this image a lot of the star cloud umbilical cord. That just kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So yes, I was joking about Bowser Jr. However, something I did get egregiously wrong is that the Koopalings aren't adopted. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that. I think it's because in this interview, Miyamoto
I
phrases it in a certain way that just kind of like tipped me off. I'm not trying to make excuses.
Again,
I think it's probably you might have seen the Polygon one. Because it literally just says that Miyamoto says Koopalings are adopted. Are essentially adopted. Okay. But see, even that doesn't necessarily like say that they're adopted. It says that it's like
the
adopted.
Title.
Right?
If you go up to the title of the article.
Oh yeah, and Bowser says they're adopted. Oh Jesus, yeah. Well, they shouldn't have put that in the title then. Yeah.
Nope.
Damn. Come on, Polygon.com.
Yeah, I expect better.
Yeah, I expect some more journalistic integrity. Yeah. Yeah, Bowser's only child. And yeah, that also on my part, and I think on everybody's part, is like discounting the legitimacy of adopted childhood, because
children,
exactly, like that those are your kids, even if they're adopted. But yeah, the phrasing there is very specific, and it's like generally to avoid being conspiratorial about things in general. Like I do generally think that people aren't necessarily putting as much thought into things as we think they are. But in this case, it seems like maybe they were.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd, like, I feel like with the Polygon thing, that maybe they just didn't get that they were, like, they literally, it was a full retcon. Right. Maybe they were saying, oh well, they still said they were his kids in Mario Bros 3. So I guess that they're like at least in the mind of this Polygon writer, that the only way you could be not someone's kid and someone's kid is if you're adopted, which just isn't how adoption works.
Yeah,
again.
That's not.
I feel like that's the only way that I could see them reaching that conclusion. You know, but like even the new games, which have like a lot of focus on Bowser's minions,
right?
They do not paint them anywhere close to being kids. Bowser's kids. He very much treats them like minions.
Yes.
Of course, he respects them a lot, and he treats them with as much care as anyone else in his army. But they call him boss and master, and blah blah blah. And when Bowser Jr. takes over the Koopa Kingdom in the future, as is mentioned throughout Bowser Jr.'s journey, he will be their boss. You know, he's not going to be their brother or even their cousin or whatever. He's just their boss, their leader.
Yeah, he's already kind of like shadowing Bowser's duty in being the boss. You know, a couple of times he's kind of led them. You know, namely in Bowser Jr.'s journey. So like, you know, he's taking up the mantle already.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reason why they went with the direction they did in Bowser Jr.'s journey was I think they had an interview with some of the Alpha Dream writers back in 2019, and they said that the original Bowser's Inside Story came out earlier on in the same year that the Koopalings were like properly reintroduced in New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Oh
So they were
yeah.
both 2000. They were both 2009.
Oh God,
And
that happened at the same
after,
time.
yeah, and
Huh.
it was after that where the Alpha Dream staff were kind of like, well, what were the Koopalings and Bowser Jr. up to during the events of the game we just made?
Mm-hmm.
And so then when they were making this remake, they were like, oh, we can actually tell that story now and elaborate on their relationship with each other and with Bowser.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we got so much depth to these characters. You know, and a lot of people are like, oh no, not the Koopalings again. You know, like because they have had a lot of relevance in the last decade or so.
Right. But like
I
putting them in an
really,
RPG setting like this, like that's not going to be interesting. Like, come on.
yeah, exactly. I think they've added a lot of depth to the characters. They've really given them individual personalities, which fit them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done a really good job at like I've never felt that there's been an oversaturation with the Koopalings.
No, me
I
neither.
think
Honestly, like I just think it's cool to see them back. Like I remember in 2009, me thinking like, and you know at that point I was like 11, but even still, like I was like,
yeah,
wow, it's really cool to see them back. I didn't think they'd bring them back. I thought that they just kind of retcon them entirely in favor of Bowser Jr. But
yeah.
it's like no, they coexist, which is so much
I
more
think
interesting. I think.
it is really interesting. And then like, and I thought the same thing when I was like, when that happened. But then like recently I realized that Iggy is in Super Mario Sunshine. Iggy Koopa is in
Iggy?
Super Mario Sunshine. Iggy is in Sunshine. He has a
Where?
cameo. There's footage of Mario fighting him on the flood scan at the beginning of the game.
Oh,
Um,
oh, the
so
flood
like
scan.
yeah, so it's like yeah, so I guess they were never like retconned.
Oh my
But they were that
god.
like yeah, it was that was interesting. And of course, like Superstar Saga still had them a year later, so there was
Everything's
there was always
intentional.
that.
Everything. All or almost everything.
Almost everything.
With a few just tiny exceptions that have butterflied out into the landscape that we know today. Do you think, let's settle this. Do you think that there's some immaculate conception thing going on? Not in the way that I described, which was mostly a joke. But
Okay,
in the
so
sense that like is he because I think him being the father or mother, quote unquote, it does kind of go against what we were saying about the nature of collaborative storytelling, which it seems like they at Nintendo are maybe a little bit more aware of than we give them credit for. It's like then Mario has multiple mothers. Like, do you think Koizumi would call himself Mario's dad or mom as well? And do you think that Miyamoto would like agree with that? I guess we have no way of knowing, but
I think the difference with Miyamoto saying that he's Mario's mother or Bowser Jr.'s mother, I think that sorry, Mario's. I think he said Mario's dad.
uh-huh,
Was it? But yeah,
something like
I
that.
think
Papa, yeah,
that's him. That's him being like jokingly meta. You know,
right.
he's like I created these characters, therefore I am their papa. I am their
Yes.
mama. You know, and I think that that's also his like kind of sneaky way of weaseling around any lore questions that he gets asked because
Uh-huh.
again he usually tends to not answer them
Right.
at least not directly and when he does answer them fans go crazy because he says like crazy he just says crazy things
Yeah.
you know well especially about Zelda like he
Uh-huh.
just says the weirdest things about the Zelda timeline and Zelda fans like start pulling their hair out when people
Yeah.
start believing him. It's very funny
Yeah.
but in any case, yeah, so I don't think when he says he's Bowser Jr.'s mother, he means as in I created the real life
Yes.
character Bowser. You know, I'm the real life creator of Bowser Jr.
Yes. This is
I
what a
think
normal person would think.
in universe, as
Uh-huh.
he said in the Kooplings quote, we do not know who the mother is.
Right.
Um, My personal belief is that he does not have a mother at all in universe. And it's sort of like a headcanon-y theory of mine that okay, Bowser, of course, he's like 24-ish, 25 at the beginning of the series. He is probably single. Like, I don't think he's mature enough to have ever like actually dated someone.
Yeah, like we all know that Bowser can get it, but like, can he emotionally get it? You know?
Yeah. He's emotionally immature. He's a man child. The way that he's like head over heels for Princess Peach and nobody else is also like quite telling.
Pretty unhealthy,
you know,
yeah.
Like, but it's also like I don't think that he would get with anyone else.
No.
If he had the opportunity. So then it's like, well, where did Bowser Jr. come from? Who's his mother? And yeah, I don't think he has one. I think that we know the stars grant the wishes for kids, and that's how the babies appear in the stork world and they get delivered.
I almost forgot about that, even though we were just talking about it.
We're just talking about it.
Yeah, the like conception works completely differently in the Mario universe.
Yeah.
So Bowser just really wanted a kid.
Yeah, so my thinking is that Bowser, we also know from Paper Mario and Super Mario RPG that Bowser's wishes never get granted by the stars because he's selfish and they have literally blacklisted him. And that's why he steals a Star Rod in Paper Mario.
Yeah.
So my theory, headcanon thing, is that during Paper Mario, he stole the Star Rod, he took it back to his castle, and off screen at some point during the game, he made a wish for a son. And then the Star Rod Mario defeats and Star Rod gets taken away, his castle blows up, whatever. But cut to some time later, Bowser is chilling at home, and a stork arrives at the door. Boom. Baby.
There he is.
But the reason why... See, Bowser, of course, doesn't have a partner. He wished for the son on his own.
Right.
And that's why Bowser Jr. looks identical to baby Bowser. Because he's literally... He had no other genes to pull from. He is a genetic clone of Bowser.
Yeah. Straight up.
And that's how he has a son. That's why come Super Mario Sunshine, everyone's like, whoa, Bowser has a son? How did that happen?
So Dr. Mario is not the homunculus. Bowser Jr. is the homunculus.
Bowser Jr. is the homunculus, yes.
Okay. No, this again, it tracks. Completely and utterly.
There's no real evidence, but I think it fits rather nicely.
Yeah,
so
it does.
I like to headcanon it.
And I think fitting rather nicely is a good way of describing like collaborative storytelling in general, but also specifically what they've been doing. The only retcons are the things that have been irreconcilable, right? Like that they couldn't possibly fudge into there.
Exactly.
This is also sort of a tangent, but have you watched Adventure Time?
I have. I'm such a huge Adventure Time fan.
Me too.
I love it. Adventure Time is up there with Mario for me.
Yeah. No, me too. Legitimately, I'm
like
making
second favorite.
Yeah.
Maybe even favorite fictional universe.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I'm making a video about it right now, and I'm noticing a lot of similarities in terms of because Adventure Time has this and always has had this energy of this kind of meandering canon, but it has an immaculate memory. It always
absolutely.
It always makes things work in a way that feels like they were kind of making it up as they go along, but also like some of these things were planted so far in advance that it's like, okay, well,
but they were absolutely like,
yeah.
Like I mean, go back to season 1. They had not planned all of this out. But
yeah,
it works so well, and I feel like crossover. With they go to Farm World again, and Finn has to like they have to kill the Jake Lich.
Yeah.
Right. And I love at the end of the episode, Prismo like uses his powers to like get rid of the ice crown from the farm world reality,
Uh-huh.
and he puts it on like the dead Ice King's head in the past.
Yeah, and
which
that
is
was an
literally
animation
error.
Yeah.
And they've justified an universe. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was like, I was like, oh my god, the attention to detail, so funny. But
Yeah,
just
I don't know if that was Jesse Moynihan, but that seems like a Jesse Moynihan decision.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely nuts. Yeah, that's one of the wildest things they've ever done, I think. Um, yeah, incredible. And you think about the Mario games, and it's like I don't think they have as much opportunity to do that, and it's also over a much longer time scale. Like
yes,
Adventure Time only
40,
took
40 plus years.
right. Like I guess Adventure Time has the canon, you know, thousands of years, and then like when Evergreen is established, that's like
Yeah,
in prehistoric
yeah,
times compared to Mushroom War times. So it's like they I guess have the benefit of a at least somewhat clear uh, internal timeline, but
yes,
they
yes,
they don't have the benefit of a or I guess maybe the opposite of a benefit of having a long time to actually develop that out in the real world because Mario has been
yeah,
around for so much longer.
yeah. But I do like, I just love, and I've always seen similarities between Adventure Time and Mario,
Uh huh.
in that sort of, um, the way that they work. I think that Mario also has that memory, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in that, like, okay, Adventure Time, they brought back Nectar and the ancient psychic Tandemore
Yeah.
elephant, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, um, they just, and I feel like that was probably just somebody went back and watched an old episode and went, oh yeah, what happened to that character?
Yeah.
Let's just stick him in somewhere. But I think that happens in Mario as well. Like going back to the uh, the Koopalings,
Mm-hmm.
were gone for years, in the main series, and less long in the spin-offs, but still a long time. And they brought them back for New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Pauline, not gone because she was in the Mario
Uh
versus
huh.
Donkey Kong games, but again, like,
Soft gone.
wasn't really relevant. Not
Yeah.
really relevant since like Donkey Kong Game Boy, or even like the original, arguably.
Uh huh.
And she came back in such a strong way in Odyssey.
Right.
Um,
In a
who
way
else?
that was
Like,
like inexorable from that game, like so
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah, the
Boom
Koopalings
Boom,
are the ancient psychic tandem war elephant.
yeah. Um, and even like the cut little cloud chompy thing in Super Mario Maker, like the stiletto,
Yeah.
the stiletto produces. That's like, again, from a prototype
God.
for
Right.
Yoshi's Island.
Uh huh.
And that they just, like, they have all this stuff, and they keep everything in mind, and they just bring things back sometimes. And I think in Mario, that's kind of the beautiful thing. Nothing is ever truly gone.
Uh huh.
Even if you're Form and Spike, even if you're, um, Pauline. 5 years ago, well, no, not 5 years ago, 8 years ago,
Uh
if
huh.
you told me that Pauline was going to be in Mario Kart,
Yeah.
uh, within my lifetime, I would have been like, no way,
Yeah.
that's never going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. That
As much
that
of
would
a
have been.
dream,
It would have been
as much of
Fantendo
a dream
stuff.
that was, as much of a dream that was for me, I was like Pauline in my mind, because I'd played the Mario versus Donkey Kong games. I was like, well, she's got to be in spin-offs eventually, right?
Right.
But I would never in a million years have thought it would have happened.
No,
And then
not at
Odyssey
all.
happened, and I freaked out when I saw that trailer. I was like, because she was only in it for a glimpse.
Yeah.
You got a glimpse of the back of her,
Uh huh.
and I was like, oh my god,
No, I did the same thing,
Pauline. I was like,
and like, yeah, having grown up on Fantendo, like Pauline was pretty common actually, but
yeah,
like because of the cognitive dissonance, like all of her renders were like fan made or cobbled together from like Frankenstein from Princess Peach and Daisy
yeah,
and stuff like that. And there were just a million other examples of that kind of thing on Fantendo, but like it was never never real. Like we could play around in our sandbox about it, but it was never validated. But
Yeah.
now, if I were to just show my 11-year-old self like the current state of the Mario series, it would be almost identical to the stuff that we were making at the time.
Yeah.
And thinking as, you know, total pipe dreams, and only putting on there because you know that's the only place they would belong, because they were like crank uh theories. It's like, no, Pauline's never going to come back. It's like, look at us now.
Exactly. And it's kind of reassuring to know that nothing is ever really forgotten
Uh-huh.
in Mario. Like it would surprise me if Stanley the Bugman came back, but
Yeah.
like I think that he could very easily come back. Like it wouldn't be. There's nothing stopping them from just sticking him in a Donkey Kong game, sticking him in a Mario game.
Yeah. And
In
you
the
have
next
no
couple of years.
idea how much I would pog. I would do the little pog face at that. Like that would just be, that would be so good.
Yeah, it would be
I
beautiful.
I would be so happy about Stanley the Bugman. And I would have been happy about Stanley the Bugman if it had happened when I was 11 as well, you know?
Yeah,
It's like,
I know.
I think another really good example of things never really being gone is like in the Mario in the sports games and in Mario Kart. They'll just pull Honey Queen out of the ether. They'll pull
Yeah,
Ninja out of the ether in the golf game. They'll put Charge and Chuck in the golf game for some reason, which I just love that decision so much.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
beautiful.
incredibly good. Uh, they put the football turtle in the golf game. But yeah,
And he was in Mario Kart like the same week as well. Like
yeah,
they added him to
wild.
tour, which is yeah,
Yeah,
crazy.
with what Tor has been doing, you know, for all the criticisms that I think people have with
Poochie in
yeah,
Mario Kart,
Poochie's there.
crazy.
That is insane. That's literally, that's Fantendo tier. And when I saw the tweet for that, it was like, I just posted it to all my Fantendo friends, being like,
Yeah,
this can you imagine this happening in 2009? Like,
I mean, we were just a few years ago, Sophie and I doing like Mario Kart like rosters, but sort of realistic-ish picks, but
uh-huh.
like ones that would also like fit within the canon and stuff.
Right.
And then like after a while, it just kind of went crazy and
Yeah.
into like pipe dream stuff. But like Poochie was up there as like something that would never happen.
Yeah.
Um, another one I'd love to see is like the Polterpup or something from Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, that would
Or
be
like
really cute.
yeah, or like even like Helen Gravely or something, just from Luigi's Mansion 3, because I think that she's such a fun character in terms of like her dynamic with King Boo and stuff.
Yeah.
Like a really creepy parasocial relationship that they just decided to stick in there.
Yeah.
I never in a million years would I have come up with that.
Yeah, they could capitalize on that so much more.
Mhm.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3,
yeah.
really good.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I'm such a huge fan of that game, especially like even the intro sequence where you're just like in a hotel with Mario and Peach and the Toads, and they're all just like interacting, and and you go into Mario's bedroom, it's full of like empty pizza boxes. Like that is so much to the characters.
Yeah, it's really really cute, and I think
Yeah.
sometimes people think that like interjections of personality like that are only due to it being essentially like a second party game, but the thing is, like, I don't think attribution for that sort of thing, we can ever really know who exactly came up with that idea unless they tell us, after the fact. Like, but also, like, that's true in the sense that is how collaborative storytelling, that's the nature of collaborative storytelling. Like, yeah, there's going to be some people who fixated on this part of Mario's personality, and there's going to be some people who who don't. And obviously, like, Miyamoto is somebody who doesn't fixate on certain aspects of Mario's personality, but like the people who made Luigi's Mansion 3 wanted to inject his love for Italian food in there.
Yeah, but
for
I
his
think it's funny then, even like that's in my mind, then it's a kind of a consistent part of his personality within the first party Nintendo sphere. In that, Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Odyssey, he dreams about pasta all the time. And in Super Mario Sunshine's intro, when Peach is like Peach is the only one who notices Shadow Mario in the welcome video, because Mario is daydreaming about seafood, and Toadsworth is daydreaming about relaxing on the beach, which is like so fitting for both of their characters. It's like it's I think that people got with Mario's personality, people tend to just think that he has none, and I think the real issue is that they just don't like it. They don't like his personality because he's very much a squeaky clean, heroic, nice guy. And I think that's the reason why people either say he has no personality, or they like to believe like the whole Mario was mental, Nat Pat world of things.
No, they've got to learn to accept Mario for who he is. It's amazing, and I think you say that same basic thing like really well down here in one of your other comments. Like, yeah, he's just a cool guy, and that's beautiful. I'm also a really big fan of Steven Universe, and like I think some people think that Steven is boring because he's so like lighthearted, and first of all, like, that have you seen that show? He's got the most trauma of anyone ever, and like,
God, Future
goes
like grounding all of like every little that episode in the hospital, where
incredible,
that is it completely changed. Like, I don't think I can go back and watch the series the same way, knowing that like all those impacts were actual like injuries. And
his Steven Universe's skeleton is scarred. It's horrifying.
It's like I and I love Steven Universe as well. Steven Universe is quite different from Mario and Adventure Time in that I think everything was kind of planned out from the beginning. But no, Steven Universe is brilliant. And I just don't get what people have against characters being positive or nice. Or like,
it's like Mario doesn't necessarily have that level of trauma behind all of his actions that we know of.
But he does have depth, and he has flaws. And I think people overlook that.
Some people are just nice, and he's not even like 100% perfect as a person, but like, he is on the whole.
He tries his best, and I think it's admirable as a character trait. I think that's what everyone should aspire to do. I think that's why he works so well as a hero, because I think Miyamoto said that the way Mario should be portrayed, and this isn't the way that every game portrays him, but I feel like it's sort of the most common portrayal, is that Mario can be a guy who lives near you.
Right.
He's a blue collar working man he's
a working class king.
And he just found his way into these adventures, and he does all this hero stuff, not because he literally has superpowers, but because he believes it's the right thing to do to stand up for these people who need help. And a lot of like, Yoshi's Island DS made him a star child, and it's not exactly clear if the Star Children have any powers. I personally believe that they don't.
Like
that I think the whole point of the stars hiding themselves within the hearts of the babies is that they would be undetected, you know. So they
Right.
just picked like random normal babies so that they wouldn't be found. But then like Super Paper Mario made Mario one of the 4 chosen heroes. Not a huge fan of that plot, but
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense in that Mario's universe has always been a world where the future is predictable, you know? So, like, I think if Mario wasn't predicted to be one of the 4 heroes, he still would have stepped up and chosen to be one of those heroes, if you get me.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, that you just reminded me, self-fulfilling prophecy of Yoshi's Island. Kamek kidnaps the baby Mario Bros because he wants to stop them from, you know, becoming the heroes in the future. Right. That we know them from, like Super Mario Bros, etc. So like Kamek foresees that they will cause terror or something to befall the Koopa family. I think that's how it's described.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, then they grow up, and then they at some point move to New Donk City. And it's my belief that the only reason why Mario and Luigi ended up back in the Mushroom Kingdom is because Bowser, knowing of the prophecy that Kamek had seen, decided to send his minions, the Koopa Troopas and the Fighterflies and the Spinies and the Sidesteppers to the New Donk sewers to fight Mario and Luigi to stop them from ever making it to the Mushroom Kingdom and foiling his plan. But inadvertently, he literally led them directly back to the Mushroom Kingdom, causing them to stop him, which is, you know, he fulfilled the prophecy that he was trying to avoid.
Oh my god. Which is such a Bowser thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. No, that man, I'm worried about the movie. Like, I don't need all of this to be in the movie in order for it to be a good movie, but also
I don't think it needs to be in the movie for it to be a good movie. I think they can take different directions, but
it would be pretty cool if they did do it, though.
It would be. It will be cool. Yeah.
That would be wild.
I think from what we've seen in the movie so far, from the trailers, I'm pretty sure that they just stumble across a random pipe and accidentally end up on the mushroom planet.
Sure.
I don't know what they're calling it in the movie.
What the nature of that is. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we won't.
It's funny because in the games it is just Earth. But I'm pretty sure, and like in the Super Show and in the 1993 movie, it was like an alternate universe Earth. Like it wasn't, it was just Earth in another dimension. But in this one, I'm suspecting that it's, instead of another dimension, an alien planet. Because they keep bringing up that like Peach has that quote, there's a whole big universe out there with lots of galaxies or something like that, and I feel like that's going to be in relation to Bowser's goals to conquer the universe,
right? And
how if Mario doesn't stop him here, he'll just go and also take over Earth. I think that's the angle they're taking, and also it looked very space-like when they were going through the pipes.
Yes, definitely
in that one scene. So I think that it'll probably be 2 planets in the same dimension rather than 2 versions of the same planet in different dimensions. You know?
I think that there's a very high chance of the sequel to this movie, if there is a sequel, or they're maybe trying to set up a Super Mario Galaxy movie, because like, I don't know, there's been a lot of, and like with Lumily and everything, it seems like that might be where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, there's already a lot of Galaxy influence in the movie. Again, like you said, with Lumily, Bowser taking the superstars, not the power stars, but the superstars,
right,
as they're called in the movie. And there's definitely some again, them kind of going through space, it seems, and then like even stuff like Bowser's plan being to conquer the universe, like not just the Mushroom Kingdom, like they've specified that he has like universal domination in mind.
Right.
I feel like a lot of that is Galaxy influence, but then there's absolutely ways they could take it further, and I think Chris Pratt keeps like mentioning in interviews that he's like, this is the start of like a new Nintendo cinematic universe or something like that.
Yeah, he's definitely hyped that up.
He's an actor. He's an actor, and he doesn't necessarily know like what's going on, the writing side of things. But there's definitely going to be a sequel.
Yeah,
like at least. I mean, I can't imagine there won't be.
Yeah.
But there'll probably also be like, spin-offs or other Nintendo franchises getting their movies, because I think
that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, there's a Donkey Kong, I feel, will definitely get a movie of his own. There's been rumors about that as well.
Yeah, with the whole theme park that's happening. Not that I necessarily think the theme park is going to tie into the movie canon necessarily, but I think that like, that it seems like they're pushing.
See there's parallels.
Yeah, they're pushing Donkey Kong, and yeah, there are definitely parallels. So who knows?
The theme park is definitely more like the games than the movie is. But you can still tell there is movie influence. Like there's a Mario toy which has the shoes from the movie. There's what else? Even like the shape of the mountain prop.
I was gonna say like the verticality. Yeah,
that's very clearly the same as the Mushroom Kingdom. I think it's called Mushroom Heights in the movie. That whole city. That's so like there's parallels there, and like you can even see in the Donkey Kong section. Of course, it's a lot of stuff from Donkey Kong Country Returns, but then there's like the golden ape statue head, which is the same as the one from the movie. So there's definitely some overlap between those.
I'm sure that was a difficult design process for them, like amalgamating the two before like one of them was even shown to the public. Like I think we saw that the first images of the Donkey Kong theme park, like concept art stuff, before we even saw anything in the movie.
It was like 2017, 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Ages ago.
Which that's interesting. It makes me wonder why Nintendo didn't clamp down on that having leaked out, or did they do that themselves?
I think maybe I don't think it was leaked out. I think it was like proper press release stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. Anyway, I could be wrong. What I was going to say, the movie. I think actually the movie's set pieces are probably based on the theme parks. Because I don't think that the movie's designs were finalized until like a year or two ago.
Yeah,
like, I think
it would surprise me, and also just like how long it's been in development. They probably went back and forth on it a bunch.
Yeah, a lot. Also, like maybe it's just me. I doubt it. But did you find it crazy the way that they had the Mario shoe thing at the Nintendo store in New York? They were just like, yeah, we have Mario shoes.
Yeah,
in the movie. You can come and look at them.
I think that they were trying to kind of copy the Sonic movies shtees, but the thing about Sonic is that he has like iconic shoes and Mario kind of doesn't. But yeah, that was a wild moment.
I was like, really? Like, can you buy them? But no, apparently you just look at them.
No, you just look at them.
Like a glass case or something.
It feels
funny.
It feels appropriate somehow, but I can't quite put my finger on it. It feels like a very Nintendo thing for them to do.
Yeah, true. I thought it was weird though, the choice they made with the shoes, because actually the shoes he has in the movie are inspired by scrapped shoes that were proposed for Odyssey, because you can see in the Odyssey concept art that they had like an early model. And on the early model they have the shoes from the movie. And Odyssey this is before the movie started development, so it's not like they were inspired by the movie. I'm pretty sure that they came up with these shoes as like more realistic, I'm saying in air quotes, Mario shoes. But they scrapped them because they looked ugly.
Right.
And then in the movie, they've just decided to use these shoes, which I think are pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
But
think
I
they look
guess
that
it
good.
makes somewhat more sense with the art style that they've got going on, which isn't like that different, but it's
Yeah.
I guess different enough. Like
Yeah.
in kind of a Smash Brothers Brawl type way. It's like, yeah, I guess I can
Yes.
feasibly see this being the material that these were made out of. But it's not even like the first time they've attempted that, so it's like, yeah, hence Brawl.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very weird.
Very weird indeed.
I think that they were trying to just do the Sonic movie thing, which also may be the approach that they're trying to take with the whole other planet thing, if that is indeed what the justification is.
Yeah.
That it's like, yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
kind of like what they did in the Sonic movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's technically an alien or whatever. I don't know why I thought Rosalina was the one, or actually no, I do know why I thought Rosalina was the one who remade the universe. It's because of this. She, where is that shot? I thought I had it pulled up.
It's here, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so she appears like super big and everything.
Yeah.
But she's just the liaison. But she even mentions that like the baby stars. So I don't know why. I think I was going off the image more than I was going off the text.
Yeah, I think you're not the only one.
Uh-huh.
Like, everyone thinks that Rosalina is the one who reset the universe, and that she's like she's often called like a goddess,
right?
Or like the god of the Mario universe, the creator of the Mario universe. But like, that's just not true,
right?
You know, they make it pretty clear in the text in both like this game and in other games like the Paper Mario games and stuff that the stars are the stars are the gods. The stars are the ones who are worshipped.
Right.
Rosalina is like a messenger for the stars. She's obviously like someone who raises baby stars, but
right.
Then like she's not the only one who does that. Like Merle from Paper Mario also raises stars.
Yes.
In Starborn Valley. So
and then this.
So yeah, like
when you brought up this really blew my mind to the moon. This is insane, because truly this is a bit character from Mario Party 3, and yeah, I guess she is a Toad, huh?
Or sort of
Toad-like.
Maybe she's certainly Toad-like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, wait, I can see it there. I don't see it there as much.
No,
like that. Yeah. That just looks like a head wrap of some kind.
Yeah.
But she's got fucking Rosalina's exact wand.
Which is and it's really funny. In Japanese, the Mushroom Genie is called the Mushroom Witch, and in Super Mario Galaxy, Hint Toad, when he first meets Rosalina, suspects that she's a witch.
My God.
And in Mario Kart Tour, Rosalina dresses up as a witch during the Halloween event.
Oh my God. So she's just Rosalina's just a wizard.
Basically, yeah, and I mean it fits exactly in with her little compass star emblem. That's and like even her regular star emblem. Those are both emblems used by the shaman in the shamans in Super Paper Mario.
Right.
Like the ancients, who themselves, of course, have like a really strong connection to the stars. They built the Crystal Palace, which was made to honor the stars.
Right.
They use the stars for like interdimensional travel and for reading the future. So like obviously they have that really strong connection, and then like that might connect to the Thousand Year Doors civilization as well.
Yeah.
Because like Count Bleck has like a magical ring that he like generates when he's using magic, and then like that's the same symbol that can be seen on the floor in front of the Thousand Year Door in that game. So it's like, and they when they summoned that civilization, when they summoned the Shadow Queen, um, they dragged the power from the stars into the stones, into the crystal stars, which she
Right.
uses. So like, there's all these connections between the civilizations and stuff, and the stars and the magicians of Mario's world.
Uh-huh.
I love the Star Lord. The Star Lord is like the most interesting part of Mario as a whole.
It
I'd
goes
love to
it
do a
goes
whole
way
like
harder than I ever gave it credit for. Like
I'd love to
even for
do
a
a whole
second.
deep dive into it.
Yeah, you definitely
Um,
should. Like that's a video in and of itself. I mean, really, all of these things are videos in and of themselves. So
yeah,
by stars, uh, how do we reconcile uh, moons and shine sprites and stuff like that? Because like I the thing that I thought since Odyssey at least is like, oh, these are just power stars, but in like separate forms.
yep, you're 100% right.
Okay,
They're power stars in different shapes.
right.
And I have like a whole uh, theory text. Here it is. Um, that I'll send
Yeah.
to you over Discord. Um, let me just get the image that accompanies it. Uh,
Oh, look at
works.
that. I see. Okay. Yeah,
So
just
like,
in different shapes.
I have all the evidence compiled
Uh
and
huh.
everything, but they're all uh basically they're all power sources.
Mm-hmm.
They're all based in celestial bodies, and then there's like a lot of like evidence in the games that hints at connections between them, and um like characters acknowledging the similarities, but that the fact that they just have different shapes.
Oh yeah,
um
Cappy does literally say that, doesn't he?
yeah,
Forgot about
yeah.
that.
And Toadsworth says something similar in Sunshine. He's
Yeah.
like, when he sees a shine sprite for the first time, he's like, that bright object, it's not a star, what could it be?
Uh huh.
So yeah, so like, uh very very interesting stuff. And then like, cat shines in Bowser's Fury are also
Yeah.
probably the same things. Obviously they look a lot different, but I think that they're probably just the same thing in a different shape again, because they're like identical to shine sprites in
There's some
every way
cat
but
lore
appearance.
going on in that game. I don't really understand. Are they trying to set up like another ancient civilization or something? Where do you think the cat dimension, like, do you think it's another dimension? What is it?
It's the same dimension as Mario's home dimension. It's just it's because okay, so Bowser and Bowser Jr. Uh, according to Bowser Jr.'s dialogue and like the post credits, sorry, the end credits
Uh-huh.
paintings that he makes,
Yeah.
they flew from the Koopa Kingdom presumably to Lake Lapcat
Uh-huh.
for a nice day by the beach, according to Bowser Jr., but it's pretty clear that they were going to invade the kingdom,
Right.
because all of the minions were there and
Yes.
all the airships were there. Bowser fell asleep on the ship on the way there. Bowser Jr., for some reason, decides to paint him with his paintbrush, probably just like a prank,
Uh-huh.
or because he was bored, or because his dad wouldn't wake up, or it's not made explicitly clear, but Bowser
Pranks
Jr. looks
really
kind
have
of peeved.
disastrous consequences in the Mario universe.
Yeah,
No
they
one
seem
should
to.
ever do
Um,
pranks.
but basically, Bowser Jr. paints his dad with black paint, and as we know from Paper Mario Color Splash, black paint tends to possess people. Um, and Bowser transforms into Fury Bowser
Mm-hmm.
and grows super huge and destroys the fleet of airships, which is why we see them destroyed at the lake when Mario arrives.
Right.
And all of the minions get scattered all over the lake, and Bowser Jr. tries to get Bowser back to normal, but he can't. So he thinks, well, who's a hero who helps people in need, and then he is like, oh yeah, Mario. So he uses paintbrush again to create a portal back to the Mushroom Kingdom, like he does in like around Delfino in Sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Mario finds the little Shadow Mario emblem at the beginning of the game and gets sucked through the portal to the lake. But yeah, it is on the same planet. It's just another kingdom, like any of the Odyssey kingdoms.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's same for the Sprixie Kingdom in 3D World.
Uh-huh.
It's because a lot of people think that's another dimension as well, but that's the same planet.
Yeah, no, that's the same place. I was always kind of on that team with the Sprixie Kingdom, but I think it's just it's a little bit less clear, like how exactly
from the get go
getting there. Yeah,
in Bowser's Fury, it's because like if you didn't because like a lot of people miss the credits paintings.
Yeah.
And even like the context of like the airships being all like crashed around the lakes.
Right.
But yeah, they flew there. So like they didn't go through any portals or anything to get to the lake.
Like yeah, that makes sense.
I was just gonna say, Sophie and I made back like 2 years ago now. God, has it been that long since Bowser's Fury came out?
Oh my God, has it been 2 years?
2 years, I think so. Yeah.
That's horrifying.
we made an Odyssey style brochure for Lake Lapcat.
Oh, that's so cool.
We also did one for the Honey Hive Kingdom from Galaxy.
Look at that.
But yeah.
Oh, this goes so hard. Oh my God. Oh, the graphic design is exactly the same. Wow.
Yeah. No, she's brilliant.
Yeah, she's incredible. Is she going to school for that? That's incredible. Wow.
I think it's just a natural talent she has.
Yeah, straight up. God, that's incredible. I love that. That is so cool.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun making that. Super.
Follow Sophie.
Yep. No, please do.
Yeah. My God.
Follow Sophie before you follow me.
God.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, and yeah, the way that all this text is written as well, it's the same kind of brevity and the same kind of distillation that the Odyssey brochures use. That's really cool. God. You're doing God's work. Yeah. Interesting. Let's see. I already brought up the Mushroom Genie thing. And yeah, also something that we kind of touched on earlier is like when you said this about the royalty of the Mushroom Kingdom being trained in magic, and then I looked at the Mario Tennis thing. Yeah, she's just straight up using levitation powers. So
yep,
that's wild. And yeah, like she can float and everything. So why not?
And yeah, and a lot of people think that Peach floats using her dress somehow, like as if like the wind like propels her, I guess. But no, like because in games where she isn't wearing a dress, she can still like float around.
Yeah.
Even in like 3D World, when she gets the boomerang flower, she has like a jumpsuit instead of a dress.
Yeah.
And she floats the exact same way.
Exactly.
So,
I feel really egregious about those Baby Rosalina renders being fan art because I legitimately just did not know. This is why we always check the wiki.
Yeah.
Because and also we talked a little bit in the comments about this, but like the idea of like official Nintendo people using fan renders as reference,
yeah,
and then that kind of bleeding in, that's just fascinating as an idea to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Dr. Mario World renders, different colored shoes and a different colored soother or binky or
Yeah,
whatever,
Binky
whatever you want
thing.
to call it. Pacifier. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is it's just really funny to me
Yeah, that
that
is.
they managed to mess that up.
I hope somebody's fired for this blunder. No. Um, don't fire anyone who worked on Dr. Mario World. Dr. Mario World was cool.
Yeah, I really like Dr. Mario World.
Yeah, I'm sad that it's not there anymore. I feel like they could
I
keep
feel like
that
they could
up.
port it to Switch or something.
Yeah, port it to
Or
Switch.
I don't know. Yeah,
Port.
very different Dr. Mario game, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, very
Um,
very strange. It definitely had that mobile game curse to it, but
yeah,
sometimes that's a good thing, you know. Um,
in
and
the last
yeah,
few months
as
when they gave unlimited hearts to people, and it just like made the game so much better.
yeah, yeah, that was really good. They had to know what they were doing.
Yeah, they did. I think they just felt bad because like nobody bought the game, but the few people that had probably wanted to like, they probably just wanted to give a bit of thanks
Yeah.
before the game shut down.
Uh-huh.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They're benevolent sometimes.
Yeah.
Over at Nintendo. And yeah, just the why I think your original comment was like so well written is that you got me in the sense of a like 5-paragraph essay type structure, because you got me with the hook here, like that none of these are actually inconsistencies, and then you go on to restate that at the end of the comment. Like it and it just, it's so well formed, and yeah, my mind is so thoroughly changed about Mario now.
Oh, well, I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I appreciate
really
you.
appreciate that because
I also like
yeah, but
this.
a lot of people don't.
Yeah,
A lot of
no.
people no. But yeah, I thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would imagine. I also really like the various discussions in the comments that with other people that ended up happening.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
As just I also this thing about like Princess Peach being a feminist because she is like as acrobatic as Mario. There was a clip of that from the movie that was released recently where she was like doing all this parkour, and they're making her competent or whatever because of feminism or whatever, and it's like she can do literally all the same things that Mario can and like always has been able to. Like why are we
like
acting
do those
this is
people
new?
play a Mario game?
Yeah,
please.
like one of them, like especially lately, like yeah, she's
I mean, just 3D World or Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Princess Peach, Mario RPG. Like literally, she's just capable as Mario is, and the only reason why people perceive her as not being is because Bowser kidnaps her, which is like. If like Bowser has kidnapped Mario before, and Mario has been in just as much of a bind as she has been.
Bowser has an entire army. He's a man child with a gigantic military force and a kingdom. Like he would be able to kidnap most people, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if Bowser has his sights on you, you are screwed.
Yeah. Bowser has wizards as well. Like Peach is essentially just one wizard. Thinking of Peach as a wizard is a fun rabbit hole to go down, and also 100% true. Yeah.
Yeah. You just reminded me as well of Bowser's, like mentioning Bowser's army. I was going to talk about Tropical Freeze and how cool the Easter eggs are in that game, because basically the fifth island, Juicy Jungle, is that is Stanley. That's where Stanley from Donkey Kong 3 lived previously, because now it's all in disrepair, and all the like the wildlife has taken over the island. So you're like, what happened to Stanley? Did he die? Did he get eaten by a man-eating plant or something? But
God.
the factory is still running. But like they had all like it's just a small Easter egg, but you can see the greenhouse from Donkey Kong 3 in the background of one of the levels, and like that just adds so much depth to Donkey Kong 3 and who Stanley is as a character, and even for the timeline, like the reason why Donkey Kong 3 takes place where it does is because Juicy Jungle is the nearest island to Donkey Kong Island in the Kong archipelago.
Right.
So it makes sense that when Donkey Kong leaves the Metro Kingdom, that he would end up on Stanley's Island before he actually got home. Right. And that's why, like, that's why that order of events is the way it is.
This is why, like, we're all focused on Donkey Kong Jr. and where he's at. Where is Stanley?
Where is Stanley?
Is he okay?
Yeah, I hope he moved like to the mainland or something, and that he didn't just get eaten off screen and died years ago. But you know, it's both are equally valid possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
so much fun.
Here's my theory for Stanley. Stanley has become he did move to the mainland, but he became like a Tarzan, like he became a George of the Jungle. Like for the Kongs, so he's just like a wild man in their midst, and he will be the I guess 5th playable character in the next Donkey Kong Country game.
That would be really cool, actually. To
Stanley the Wild Man instead of Stanley the Dog Man.
I'd love if a Donkey Kong world was like set in New Donk City or something, like,
right?
Because last time they did that was Donkey Kong Land, which was super cool, but it's also on the Game Boy and not a very like solid game in terms of gameplay because it's like it wasn't well adapted. But like I would absolutely adore to see the Kongs climbing around city streets and all that stuff. Super cool to imagine. And also on that same island where we see Stanley's greenhouse is one of Bowser's tanks from Super Mario Bros. 3.
Right.
So you're like, did Bowser invade this region?
Yeah. Or at least the detritus from some other invasion washed up or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, it seems plausible that he maybe did.
Yeah.
Bowser killed Stanley in cold blood. Him personally. Probably like a bob bomb or something, but still. Yeah. Where's Stanley?
Where is he? That's the age-old question.
Hashtag where's Stanley?
Where's Stanley?
God. Oh, this I just happened to scroll to this comment that you left about Paper Mario, which helped me think about this in a lot clearer of a way because another thing that I wanted to bring up before I let you go is this the damn People's Mario poll, which has gotten so many more responses. I think there were maybe like 50 before I posted the video, so like it literally tripled and has been wild for me to keep up with. Also, I added like write-in responses for all of the questions, which people actually like originally there was just a write-in at the end, which looks like this, and in the early days of this poll, it was basically just this, basically everything from here down was added like after I posted the video, which are like actual like really meticulously meticulously crafted theories, but like now those exist on every fucking question, which I should have known that this would happen, but I mean I was inviting it to happen, but also I just wanted to scroll through for a second and see what 154 people at least think the consensus is. That's fair. This one is inarguable. Yeah, there's a lot of Peachette discourse that ended up
Debate.
happening.
Yeah.
And it seems like most people agree that that the Super Crown just transforms people into a peach like being, which I just find so interesting.
That is correct, but it only works on Toadette.
Right.
That's explicit lore that Toadette is the only one that the crown has any effect on.
So
also,
why?
Because I think it's because she's the one who discovered it in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. She's the first one to touch it, and therefore she is the only one that it works on, or something. Like it bound her. Actually, since we're talking about Adventure Time, I think it works like the ice crown.
It works like the ice crown.
Yep. Not nearly as malevolent, I guess.
Yeah.
As in she can take it off and she turns back to normal.
Or as sad, right? Like it only, as we discover in Evergreen, it only does that because dinosaur one time wished to be like Evergreen.
Like Evergreen, yeah.
Yeah.
Such cool lore. I can't Adventure Time is just amazing. But
it is. Bad dads. Their bad fathers are responsible for almost every bad thing that happens in the show. Which
so true.
So
actually,
powerful. Yeah. It's a little bit like real life. No, yeah, that makes sense. It's like the Ice Crown. Just watch Adventure Time if you want to understand Peachette.
Well, what we know is that it was made in ancient times. It was sealed in the Grand Labyrinth. Captain Toad and Toadette went on a quest to find it. Toadette got to the room first and possibly touched it before the captain did. And then they both went back to Peach's castle, and New Super Mario Bros. U picks up right after that.
I mean, that sounds a lot like what Simon and Betty or maybe it was just Simon who found the crown. I don't know. The actual archaeological mission there is or the antiquarian mission or whatever.
I think it was it somebody called Sven or something dug it up and then Simon bought it from him. Not positive. I'm pretty sure that was but yeah. So I think anyway that if it is wish based like the Ice Crown is that Toadette wished that she could be like Peach because she really looks up to Peach and respects Peach. And so that turns her into Peachette. I think it's as simple as that.
Damn.
But again, they haven't really elaborated too much on the lore. All we know is it's a really old magical crown. Toadette found it. Now it turns her into Peachette.
It's like the Ice Crown but less sad.
Yeah.
And there you go. It seems like most people agree that Donkey Kong Jr. is Donkey Kong's dad as a kid, which is what you think too, right?
Yeah, that's Nintendo's current stance.
Yeah,
has been their stance since in every game except for Donkey Kong 64.
No, that tracks, and that's what I've always thought, honestly. Let's see, where were the other interesting ones? Yeah, I think in one of your comments you mentioned Pink Donkey Kong Jr. I put him on this at the behest of one of my friends, so this wasn't even my idea to begin with. But
Donkey Kong Jr. Yeah. So Junior 2, I think is just like Purple Captain Toad.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not sure if you've played Treasure Tracker's multiplayer update, but yeah, Purple Captain Toad is just Captain Toad. He doesn't actually exist as a separate being.
Right.
Same goes for the Luigi's in Scarescraper. Or the 3 extra Marios in the Mario Bros. GBA multiplayer.
Right.
They're just palette swaps of existing characters, and they don't really exist in universe per se. They're just there to allow for multiplayer in games which the stories don't allow for multiplayer.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what any normal person would think, but we have to convince ourselves that it is like this because we have the Mario brain disease.
Of course.
Yeah. we already settled Dr. Mario. We've also already settled, or at least as far as you and I are concerned.
Jumpman.
Yeah, Jumpman. He's the same Mario. What do you think about this?
Yeah. So okay. Uh, Mario and Luigi were originally called Mario and Luigi Mario in the Super Show, I believe.
Right.
Um, then in the movie, Shigeru Miyamoto has never seen the Super Show, so he caught wind of it after seeing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He thought it was hilarious, but he thought that obviously doesn't apply to the games. And he said in an interview actually I think it was the same interview, the Game Informer one we were talking about earlier,
Probably, yeah.
that Mario and Luigi do not have any last names.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's just said he said that they were.
There we go.
That they're
Hollywood
so they
did a
don't have any last
film
names.
version.
Yeah.
I like how he says that.
And so I heard this and laughed rather loudly. Of course, this is ultimately included in the film. But just like Mickey Mouse, Mario doesn't really have a last name, even though Mickey Mouse's last name is Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
But I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
Mario and Luigi are just Mario and Luigi. And that was his stance until 2015, where he kept getting asked over and over again in interviews. And eventually he just decided, yeah, okay, they're called Mario, and Luigi Mario now. Even though in the games, the reason why they're called the Mario Bros is because Mario is the more well-known of the brothers.
Yeah.
Or that was the original intent. And they even bring this up in RPGs and in Mario 64 DS.
Again, that's what a normal person would think.
Yeah. But yeah, so technically Miyamoto has said that Mario's last name is Mario, but this is my counter. One, he was joking.
Yeah.
And two, he also said in a later interview that Link's last name is Link. So, if you want Link to be Link, you then sure. But that's the trade-off. If you want Mario to be named Mario, Link is also named Link. That's the hill I'll die on.
I like that a lot. That's a good. I don't even know if that is a compromise, but it's something. It makes karmic sense.
I also like that was somebody saying their last names are Video. Because
that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, that's a fun one, but I would pronounce it. I would say his name is Mario Video or something.
Video.
Not Video. Yeah.
Hideo Kojima.
I think it's it's a fun one, but again, not much basis.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they actually ever used the name Mr. Video. I think it was just one they considered and they said no to. So
it's like Heat Miser calling himself Mr. 10 Below. It's like I think only he calls himself that. Or yeah. Mario Video. I'm gonna play around with that in my mind for a bit. We already addressed a bunch of time travel stuff. We already addressed Yoshi. Or you already addressed Yoshi. What do you think about Yoshi's name?
Yeah, that is not canon.
Yeah.
Neither is the Nintendo Homo Nintendonus species for being married, because those come from an NOA character advertising guide.
Yeah, they were just goofing.
And yet it's just jokes.
Yeah,
it's there's so many contradictions with, because it's not just a Mario document. It's Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Star Fox,
right.
Donkey Kong, even some other rare stuff from the time, Yoshi's Island. It's full of errors, and I went through and I was look, they clearly didn't put all that much thought into it.
Yeah,
it's just for advertisers,
or at least not the insane amount of thought that the Nintendo seems to put into things.
Yeah.
This does, however,
mention Peach's magical powers. Yes.
So I don't know. That gets at some points for me. I don't know for what exactly.
It also says that Mario is both from Brooklyn and from the Mushroom Kingdom at
Right.
different points in the same guide. So I'm,
Yeah.
a little hesitant.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
it it's got some splaining to do. Um, I hope the authors of that original document will come forward and make reparations. No. The okay, this is just me. I'm clearly in the minority here. Um, but Yoshi's thing on his back being a shell freaks me out.
It it's a saddle and a shell. It's both. When I say shell, I mean shell in the Mario sense because no shells in Mario are natural. They're all like armor or clothes, like made to wear. Like all
Right.
the Koopa shells, like Bowser's shell, that's like clothing to him. He
That
can take it
makes
off.
sense. Yeah.
So for Yoshi wearing a shell or a saddle, it's the same thing. Like it's a shell, but it also functions as a saddle.
It,
Um,
like this is all the evidence you need, truly, if it'll load. Yeah. Like
yep,
they wear shirts underneath.
yep.
So
In Paper Mario, they say that their shells are made to order, and some of them get them factory produced, and they fit less well. And there's like a whole, some have like shell locks, which is why you can knock Koopas out of their shells in some games and not in others.
it makes perfect sense. Why
But yeah,
why why
there's
is it that these things are right in front of us? And I mean, we already talked about this, but like it's just so funny to me that like these things are right in front of me, and yet
yeah,
I'm blind. Because I would rather believe. No, see, this is the real hot take. It's because I would rather believe that it's not an organic shell, and it isn't. But like I would rather believe that it's purely a saddle, and so I've blinded myself into thinking I'm a sheep to my own swan song. It's that's wild.
yeah.
Yeah, there are some people who are bringing up like interviews in this implying that there's like some genetic thing, but I think they just go to the same Walmart to get their shells.
I think yeah. So like shells in Mario aren't like a biological thing. It's like a cultural thing.
Uh-huh.
Rocky wrenches, which are moles, used to wear shells.
Right.
Probably provided by Bowser because
Uh-huh.
they work for him. But same thing for conch doors from 3D World. They wear
Right.
shells on their
Yeah.
backs.
I
So
was trying
yeah,
to
it's
draw one of those guys recently, and I noticed that for the first time. I was like, is that a shell?
yeah,
Huh.
I know. So
No, that makes
yeah, so
sense.
shells just exist as a thing. Like Mario wears shells in some games.
This
Um,
uh this this upsets me. The concept of a
saddle.
built-in flesh saddle. That sucks. Sorry to whoever wrote that, but that sucks. Um, um,
That's really
we,
good.
we we already talked a little bit about Toad. It seems like the movie is doing like Captain Toad, uh, origin story
Yeah,
heavy lifting,
mix
which
mix. Well, Captain Toad already has his origin story
right,
in the games, of
yeah,
course, because he was part of Peach's Castle's staff in Galaxy. He got separated from Peach, and they escaped the castle with Luigi. He found a headlamp on planet, and then put it on
uh
and
huh.
decided that he was the leader of the Toads. And then they formed the Toad Brigade and had their little spaceship built.
It's a
And then
self-forming government.
yeah, and then he returned to Earth. And they started going on adventures looking for more stars and treasure to help Mario and his adventures. Captain Toad in the games definitely isn't the same Toad. The director of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker has confirmed this on Miiverse
Oh, interesting. On
years ago.
Miiverse.
So Miiverse, yeah. So they
Huh.
they made a post saying, by the way, Captain Toad is not the same Toad you play as, not the same main Toad you play as in games like Super Mario Bros. 2 and Wario's Woods. So The movie seems to be merging the characters, but like again, games definitely different people.
Wait, they mentioned Wario's Woods in that Miiverse post?
Yes,
They
they
uttered
mentioned Wario's Woods.
They
as,
uttered the name
yep.
Wario's Woods.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That's
yeah.
crazy. I didn't know that at all.
I guess it's one of Toad's main starring roles, so
yeah.
I suppose it's relevant.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
Yeah, like even still, until, but I guess not until Captain Toad. Your timeline brings up Birdo. And the connection of Super Mario RPG to Super Mario Brothers 2 and stuff like that. That was another like eye-opening moment. I'm gonna just Control F Birdo. Yeah, Birdo is born here, and it's the one it's one of the ones that's hatched out of the big Birdo that you fight in Mario RPG. That's wild.
Yep.
Yeah,
that
was another eye-opening moment for me. And Wario's Woods. That another Wario's Woods connection.
Yep. That was like, I love Birdo as well. Birdo has a great character arc, I feel. In that she went from a villain to an ally to she fell in love with Popple in Superstar Saga, and then Mario and Luigi. She fought Mario and Luigi again, and they beat her. And she was like, okay, screw you guys then. I'm going to go out and become like a star.
Right.
And then in the new Paper Mario game, she's an actress and she's a singer. So like, go her, you know?
Man, they're dead naming really Birdo at the Olympics and stuff. That always rubbed me the wrong way. We're dead naming Birdo right now.
No. She's happy with Birdo.
Is she?
Yeah, she calls herself Birdo all the time.
I guess she does.
Huh. I think Birdetta and Birdie are nicknames that she likes to be called as well by her friends, but it's not like a dead name situation.
Interesting. Okay.
Because in Superstar Saga, she asks Popple to call her Birdie when she's dating Popple.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Superstar Saga.
So I don't think it's or at least if it was like a dead name thing, it's not like that's been like soft retconned,
right?
But she calls herself Birdo all the time. That's how she introduced herself.
Yeah, that's true.
Intensive games.
That's
so true. I think she would know.
Yeah, yeah. I would defer to her for that. As with anyone.
Yeah.
This was also an eye-opening moment for me. I had to search for it for a minute, but the fact that you looped in chemistry, a game mechanic that they have in Mario Superstar Baseball, and it's like, well, yep. Yes, this tracks.
Yeah,
truly.
I mean, they did put a lot of thought into the chemistry. I think a lot of characters have chemistry that makes sense, and then some characters have like really interesting chemistry. Like Bowser and King K. Rool have bad chemistry,
right?
And you're like, huh? Did they have like? Because again, going back to the Bowser tank thing from earlier, Bowser might have operated in the Kong archipelago at some point.
Right, they had a military dispute.
King K. Rool.
Or
maybe it's just as simple as like King K. Rool treats his minions like crap, and Bowser respects his minions. So maybe Bowser just doesn't like the way K. Rool rules.
So Bowser doesn't respect K. Rool.
Yeah, it could be as simple as that. So it's just interesting to think about. So I love like just going onto the chemistry page of Mario Wiki and seeing which characters like each other and which ones don't. It's fun.
That's wild.
And how they change between games.
That's fascinating. I'll have to do that myself at some point. We established and again I'm saying we established, but I'm just saying for our own purposes, because obviously the purpose of the People's Mario is democracy, quote unquote.
Yes. Yes.
I'm using democracy in a weird way. But yeah, we already dealt with the baby stuff. We've definitely put baby Rosalina to bed, I think, which I feel
Yeah.
a lot better about, just sort of temporally, because I was operating on the idea that just the whole timeline was broken, beyond
Yeah, I
repair.
mean, my friend Red Queen Miku that I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
on some video said that Super Mario RPG wasn't canon because it completely broke the timeline, and I was like, "What did you mean by that?"
yeah,
She was like she genuinely just couldn't remember
huh,
what her issue was.
yeah. I mean, like the
Um,
square stuff, it definitely looks a little bit more out of place. Also, a
does yeah.
huge eye-opening moment was isn't your argument that, like, no, Mario 3 isn't a stage play, or it was interpreted as a stage play later but based on true events, and the game just looks like that because it's an artistic choice, like, and then that got
Yeah.
me thinking about art style, and how, like, that's interpreted literally or not literally by some people. That
hmm
also reminds me of Adventure Time, because did you ever hear, somebody said at some point that, like, the everybody has beady eyes
Yes, and
because
the beady eyes is
yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's a
The eyes are
legitimate,
covered by more skin.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
a
crazy.
genetic mutation that happened after the
Yep.
bomb, like,
Yep.
and that, like, art style decision is actually, like, really literal, so you can, like, and then that turns, at least me, when I heard that the first time, I was like, oh, what other things are, like, literal, or it's like the amount of fingers literal.
Yeah.
This is why they can't do it
And I
in live
mean,
action Adventure Time, is because they'd look fucking horrifying.
yeah, and I mean, like, if and it makes sense with like how the farm world people all have like regular eyes.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so it's crazy how Adventure Time keeps coming up, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
it's
thinking about it a lot because I'm working on that video right
yeah.
now.
I was just thinking about it like literally yesterday. I was just thinking about because like sometimes I just go through a phase of like thinking about Adventure Time all
Yeah.
again,
No, me
and
too.
it's like uh it's like God, I was just asking where is it? Um oh yeah. Like I was saying, can the past be altered? Because like I thought the timeline changes were branching based on the creation of Farm World,
Uh-huh.
but then like Prismo and the Cosmic Owl seem pretty concerned when Betty's like, "Oh, I'll go back in time and stop the Mushroom War
Right.
in Skyhooks 2," and so like you know, as if that would have an impact on the 1,000 years that occurred since. So I was like, is it a case of like when Prismo makes a wish that the timeline branches, or does the timeline branch in general, or you
Right, or
know, like
maybe
I
he's
was
the only
like,
one who can do it cleanly or something.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And then like, and I was like, oh, by the way, what was the Lich doing for like 300 years, like in between him, his create, like his latest incarnation
Uh-huh.
in the main timeline, and when Billy defeated him and put him inside the candy tree, because
Right.
like, because he's made when the mushroom bomb goes off, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and then like he probably went off and like built his tower and his soul well or whatever. But
Right.
then the next event in the timeline we hear of is like at least 200 years later when Billy puts him in the tree, and that has to be 200 years later at least because Nettie has to start sucking on the candy tree to make it grow to the size where the Lich could actually fit inside it.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I was like asking on my Discord server like what you know what do people think about that, and
Yeah.
then people were like, oh, you know, well, 200 years is like nothing to the Lich because you know he predates time. But
Right.
then I was also like, but like he's always like pretty fast in his plans. You know, he doesn't like waste time doing stuff.
Yeah.
He's kind of to the point. So I don't know.
He's like an
Um,
animal, you know? And also, I think it's maybe worth bringing up. I don't know if this actually holds any water, but it this is just one incarnation of him, you know? Has
Yeah.
he always looked like that? Probably not, if the comet is anything to go off of. I guess we haven't
Hmm.
seen any other ones in between that necessarily, but
Well,
like,
we saw when we see the Farm World version, I think it's really interesting because he actually has like a dog shaped face in
yeah.
Farm World
He's got the
as opposed to the
skull.
human one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I take it that the Lich in the main universe was sort of derived from like a human body
Yeah.
rather than a dog. Well, obviously not a dog one, but then that actually affected his appearance as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, really really fun stuff to talk about. And like I was then we got in like the subject of like Martin and how like Billy knew
Yeah.
that Martin was in the Citadel.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then like talking about like how Martin got to space, and I was like, I've always loved the theory that he got to space via tree trunks. Have you heard that one?
No. Oh my god.
So
What is the deal with that? How did tree trunks?
yeah, so it's really funny. Martin, we know from one of the promo images from Islands that
Oh.
Martin like gets rescued and brought aboard a ship
Uh-huh.
after he escapes with Finn and then gets separated from Finn.
Right.
So he ends up on the boat, and the guy who helps him onto the boat is Mr. Fine Duty from Tree Trunks' pirate days.
Oh my
So
god.
if Tree Trunks was the pirate of that ship, then she would have met Martin. And we know that Tree Trunks has this relationship with the gray aliens
Uh-huh.
from various episodes, but like mostly from that one Tree Trunks episode where she meets her like half alien children.
Yeah, and
And
now she and
so
Mr. Pig are like maybe polyamorous or something. It's unclear.
yeah, so
Yeah.
if she put Martin in contact with the gray aliens, got Martin to space, and then he would have come across like Hugo's place, when he was doing the thing during the BMO
Right, BMO.
episode. So
God.
so like that's and obviously the Greys are brought up in that episode as having allowed those humans to be like space faring or whatever. Like they like mutated them,
Right.
right? So like that's so like in my mind, that just makes sense, but it's also just really funny.
Yeah, no, that makes
That
perfect
Tree Trunks
sense.
of all people.
Yeah, and it kind of fits, and like we've never seen them talk before, so there's not really any evidence otherwise. That would be wild if Tree Trunks was just like, "Hey, I recognize you."
Yeah,
They probably can't do that
exactly.
anymore because their voice actors died.
I know.
Yeah.
Same.
The Koopalings thing, Warrior Wall. We've already gotten our stance on these, or I guess I haven't really shared my personal stance on some of these, but I'm inclined to agree with you about most things, tbh, because it just makes sense. And I would feel that way regardless if I had been exposed to this information earlier. Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of these I'm pretty sure these are already something that has been addressed. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting ideas in this about like what is and isn't canon. And you're definitely like on if the timeline is anything to go off of, that's definitely a more like maximalist approach. But
Yeah.
but
Well, even I'm not like 100% maximalist, I would
right.
say, because some people think that everything, like literally every single licensed piece of Mario media, every
Yeah, like
toy,
the show and stuff. Yeah.
every show, every like Lego Mario or
Right.
whatever, like would be canon.
Yeah.
But like if you get to that stage, in my mind, it's like that's the same thing as saying there's no canon.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
If everything is, then nothing
syndrome
is.
from the yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
I think
yeah,
that's
no.
fair. Yeah, I think
think
that's entirely fair.
Yeah, I think what I consider canon was initially based on so main series. What does the main series reference as canon? Okay, those are canon. Let's assume they're canon. what do they reference as canon,
Right.
and so on and so forth, and that builds out a branch of series. And then I went through all those games, and the commonality that I noticed was that they're all published by Nintendo. So for me, my canon rule set is stipulation A is that it has to be a Nintendo published title,
Right.
and B is that it is not a crossover title. So like not Mario and Sonic, not Mario and Rabbids. Mario Kart 8, I see as like a Mario game with guest characters. That's not the same thing as like an actual crossover, full-on crossover game.
Yeah, I think that's
if you get me.
Yeah.
So like, but like, and then in interviews and stuff, we know that Mario plus Rabbids isn't canon. For example, like that's Davide Soliani, who directed that game, has said that it's just its own fun side parallel world, not related to the main Mario canon. So, and also I think that's funny because like the fact that he clarified that it's not part of the main Mario canon would imply that there is a Mario canon to begin with.
Right, that they've talked about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
so I think that's yet more evidence.
Oh my god. Yeah. I need sometime at some point before I die, at some point before I leave this earth, I need to see those internal documents because that anything has to exist. Like I need to see what that looks like and like how thorough it is. How not thorough.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't that thorough because I feel like a lot of it is just make it up as you go along, sometimes tie back to other things. But then at the same time, I'm thinking about, again, going back to that thing in Mario Maker from the scrapped Yoshi's Island prototype, and I'm like, they keep everything. So
yeah, maybe
there is that much.
I think the usher of it ultimately is just people who care. You know?
Yeah.
So if you care, then it's alive.
And I think when you have people like Yoshiaki Koizumi at the helm of Mario, as he has been since Super Mario Sunshine, he's someone who cares deeply and personally about Mario's story. And I think that it's a shame, honestly, that he wasn't involved in the movie at all, because I think that he would have had some good insight there. But like I'm glad that he is still so prominently involved with Mario games, and it's really funny because I see like Zelda fans always saying that he's wasted on Mario because he did some of the best Zelda stories as well.
Right.
But like I'm like, no, please keep him on Mario.
Yeah, why
he's
not?
So good.
Yeah. Why not just have him on a bunch of things? Like, more is good.
Yeah.
And also like, I think there's been this I don't know if you saw the Arlo video recently, not to like cause YouTube beef or whatever, but like there's this interesting like dichotomy between Koizumi and Miyamoto, which I definitely addressed in my video as well, and probably perpetuated a bit, but like I just think it's alternate forms of storytelling, you know, both of which are valid. It's just that like one is a little bit closer to, you know, traditional forms of storytelling. And
exactly.
Miyamoto is actually kind of on the cutting edge in a lot of ways, like doing a lot of this through gameplay and inferences.
I think I haven't seen the Arlo video, but from what I've heard, I haven't seen it yet. I generally like Arlo.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think he's a lot of fun. But this perception that Miyamoto hates story, I think, is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
because he's and it's funny because he's always, I think he's clarified it in about 10 different interviews. There's like a site where you can see all these Miyamoto interviews, and it's like it comes up multiple times that he has to clarify again and again that he does not hate story. He just prioritizes gameplay story,
Right.
and then believes in natural story integration through gameplay.
Right.
In that you experience the story through playing the game rather than through like a text dump or a cutscene that you don't get to engage with.
Yeah.
And I really respect that method of storytelling.
Yeah.
And like he can, like, even though he's not writing the stories, he can still encourage that principle with the games that he is overseeing. You know, and I think that, and Koizumi gets that as well. Koizumi really respects that and agrees with Miyamoto in a lot of ways in terms of story. And I think that it's quite sad that people sort of misconstrue what Miyamoto has said in terms of story. Like a lot of people think, again, like that Koizumi had to write the storybook in secret in Galaxy, and then had to sneak it past him, and that he had no idea it was in the game or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not true. It was that Koizumi had this story, which he said was very personal to him, and so he wrote it on his own without any of the rest of the development team. He devised it all on his own, because it was so important to him.
Right.
And then he pitched it to Miyamoto.
Yeah, Miyamoto signed off on it. Like, he wouldn't have. It wouldn't be in the game if he didn't sign off on it.
Exactly. And he said, and Miyamoto said, "You did this on your own at night without anyone else?" And he was like, "Why?" And Koizumi just said, "Because it was really important to me." And I mean, I can't fault him for that. I mean, I would do the same if I had a really personal story. I would literally, I'd keep it to myself until it was ready to be presented.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but then all these articles at the time taking the quote and painting Miyamoto as like some anti-story villain who stops people from, you know, you have to sneak the story past. You know, it's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like I can see, I can imagine myself as like somebody young at Nintendo and like maybe feeling stifled by that, in that like inclination away from story if I was trying to incline closer to it, but I think that represents like a misunderstanding of the philosophy, because it's just like one is not necessarily, it's not a binary. It's just it's just two different ways, but they're not even really like that different. I think ultimately, like, I think in conveyance they are, but in practice, like, you're still kind of gleaning as humans. I think we do a certain amount of, like, you know, storyizing of things, and so we're interpreting this gameplay as story. I think something like in like non-Nintendo that does the Miyamoto method of things, as we're describing it here, is Tunic, if you've played that.
Don't think I have.
Yeah, Tunic is a lot like 2D Zelda, but it like literally you have to do everything in that game. You have to figure out everything in that game by translating like runes, and you literally have to like translate this fictional language to figure out anything. And also, like, the thing that allows you to like progress in the game is you're putting together a like a book, but the book is like an instruction booklet for the game itself, essentially. And there's like lore behind that kind of justifies it, but also it's supposed to, or a lot of people feel like it's supposed to be like the experience of playing Zelda 1, where the instruction book was all you had, basically. And that's where you gleaned everything from. And a lot of games like that were like that. And I think people see like the introduction of a more traditional form of storytelling as like an advancement of the medium of games, but really I think it's just, you know, it may have been a different way back then partially because of limitations, but I also think it's just different people doing different things.
Absolutely.
Taking
Yeah, and
different
I
approaches.
couldn't agree more. I think that part of Mario's design philosophy is that limitation feeds creativity.
Right.
And I mean, so much of the staples of Mario came from limitations. Even Mario's design is literally just based on the limitations of his character. Like they gave him a hat because they couldn't render hair. They gave him a mustache because they thought a mouth would look weird.
Right.
They gave him overalls because they only had limited colors and they couldn't render the arms moving separately from a t-shirt. So like, you know, it's all based on limitations. The reason why Goombas exist is because they thought Koopa Troopas were too tricky, and they had just enough space to squeeze in one more sprite, and so they made the one sprite and they flipped it back and forth, and so now they have a like an evil mushroom. Like,
Yeah.
that's just how it happened.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, even stuff like all the toads, not all the toads, but the vast majority of toads look the same, and that's a conscious lore decision that they've kept consistent. But
Yeah.
that comes from the early games where they couldn't render that many different looking toads.
Yeah.
You know?
And even now, like, as technology has improved, like, it's still a more economical decision to
It is.
recolor models, you know?
Yeah, it so is. Like I can never get over Super Mario Sunshine and how like the majority of NPCs have all these different clothing and colors and like that's never been done again in a 3D Mario.
Yeah.
Disappointingly, I would have loved if Odyssey even attempted doing that.
Yeah, me too.
Because it just makes the world feel so much more grounded and stuff.
Yeah. I think feeling is like where the disappointment is coming from, and where the urge to make sense of it comes from. It's like this isn't how I want it to be anymore, so there must be a reason why. But I think the reason why is just like, no, people just have different priorities, I guess, you know?
Yeah. But like I think at least for Toads anyway, I'm kind of okay with Toads being all like, or at least mostly the same. Like I like the idea of just this society of people who are kind of happy with being homogenous.
Yeah.
And I think it leads to some fun things. And then like Toads are always kind of Smurfy in that they like they get names based on what their roles are or what their character traits are, or even going back to Paper Mario 64, like I mean Rusty, Tasty, they're all like pun names based on what their jobs are. So I think, and I love the Toads for being that, but then like when they bring back Piantas, it's always just a little bit disappointing to see kind of the generic like hula skirt wearing ones with no, like they don't have any sunglasses or mustaches or shirts.
Yeah,
you know,
it's actually more jarring because it's like that's never what they were. Like at least there's precedent for that being what the Toads were, and it's refreshing to see them
exactly
in a way that's like not homogenized, but it also makes sense if they are. It's like no, the Piantas were never like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is a little bit disappointing, but like, and of course I get it. They're not going to model 100 different Piantas for the background of a Mario Kart track, but you could always, I think at least in like Double Dash, they could have maybe ported in the models from Sunshine,
right?
You know,
I mean, they could probably even do that now, and it would probably not look that.
Yeah, it wouldn't look terrible if they're in the distance.
Yeah, especially because the distance models are like that anyway, like lower polygon.
So, but I think, a lot of. I think Nintendo's had a rough transition to HD.
Yeah,
and I think they still make beautiful games, but in terms of, I think they nowadays they underestimate the amount of time that games take to make,
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to what it was in, say, the Wii era or the GameCube days. And like Odyssey is a fantastic game, but if Odyssey had 3 more years in the oven, I
Yeah,
think it would have been possibly the greatest Mario game of all time. You
I
know,
agree.
and I think that like you can tell with Odyssey that at least for the final few kingdoms they just sort of reuse assets randomly. Like why is Rabbit Ridge just full of like the recolored vegetables from luncheon?
Yeah.
You know, or like there's a in the darker side final challenge they have those little cannons for the potaboos for
Uh-huh.
the lava bubbles, and for some reason even though it's uh, orange lava, the cannon has pink lava inside it, and it's like
Right.
they couldn't have recolored that.
Yeah.
Like what's going on there?
Uh-huh.
Or even going back to like just the fact there's so few NPC models when
Yeah.
there's such a vast planet full of all these different species, and you know, I would have loved just a little bit more variety
Yeah, it's a game
in that
about
sense.
being a world traveler, like yeah.
Yeah,
It that
yeah.
that
And
would
looking at the concept art, there's
oh yeah.
so many unused concepts that were, and some of them are terrible, and some of them are really cool.
Uh-huh.
Like I've seen people advocating for like the 8-bit New Donk City with all the like the 8-bit people, and I can't get behind that.
Yeah,
But
no, me neither. It's a little bit like too literal.
mhm.
And in a series that has been literal sometimes, but not in others, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I feel like I would have loved to see some Mario proportioned NPCs mixed in with the realistic ones. At
uh-huh.
least in like I get the realistic ones for like the beginning of the game, but maybe like later on,
Right.
some Mario proportion ones start to show up, because the reason for the realistic ones is because they wanted to create sort of a jarring sense for the player that
Yeah,
this is like,
juxtaposition.
yeah, that this is what traveling the world feels like. You know, you're surrounded by these people that are a little different from you.
Uh-huh.
But then, uh, just for the sake of my Mario lore brain,
Uh-huh.
Mario did live in that city for years, and
Yes.
he worked. We can see from the Game and Watch games and stuff that he and Wrecking Crew, etc., that he worked with people who were like him. So right now, I have to headcanon there's just a different borough
Uh-huh.
in New Donk City called like Bricklin or something,
Yeah.
where all these Mario like humans live.
Yeah,
You know,
where all the cartoony people go.
all the cartoony people go. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
which I'm like, but then I'm like, segregation.
Yeah, yeah, that I was going to say that too, cuz it's like yeah, um this is something that I don't even really, as a white person, don't even really have the authority to speak on, but
Hmm.
the way that I've always kind of interpreted like Mario's looking the way that he does in
Yeah.
New Donk City is that like he is a literal immigrant. So I kind of saw him, but before I changed my mind on the stork thing, but maybe this also kind of like correlates. Maybe how your baby looks correlates to like what you are or where you wish it from.
Yeah, yeah. I think the genetics do carry over from the parents. So like when two parents make a wish, it's like the same as like sexual reproduction in
Right,
real life. Like the genes are taken from both
and
parents
that's
magically, and
why
then
yeah.
that's why Mario and Luigi look alike. That's why Bowser Jr. looks like Bowser.
Yeah, because then
That's
the
why
genetic clone thing. Yeah.
That's why Rosalina looks like Princess Peach,
Uh huh.
because she's technically like a distant relative.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
No, just oh god, what was I saying? Something
The
something. Uh.
That he was an immigrant.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like him being a cartoon person is supposed to, because essentially like every uh major continent or whatever, just or every kingdom in the Mario world
Mhm.
has a different art style essentially. So it's like so this means that Mario is an Italian American immigrant essentially, but like in the Mushroom Kingdom version of
Yeah,
that, like he came
yeah,
from somewhere else, and so that's to emphasize his feeling out of place in a place that was not originally his home. You know?
and I think you're exactly right in that. And like Mario, around the time of Super Mario Odyssey, the people were like, "Is Mario even human
Yeah.
now?" You know, like that was the whole big
Uh
question.
huh.
Koizumi said that yes, Mario is human, and that there are just many different types of people in the world.
Uh
You
huh.
know, and as in real life,
Yeah.
and
It's just like the real world,
and
but just exaggerated.
yeah, and I think a Nintendo rep at the same time also said that Mario is quote unquote a native son of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Uh huh.
So, and I, you know, obviously they still have all the Donkey Kong lore where he lived in the city. But yeah, I think you're exactly on the money there with that. Like he is supposed to feel out of place. He is a an immigrant. I think he and Luigi and their parents.
Mm-hmm.
um, but
And so
then
would Pauline be as well?
I don't think so. I think Pauline. So I think the new Donkers, as we see them in Odyssey, the vast majority of them are probably people who are originally like from the Metro Kingdom region, like
Right.
going back centuries.
Uh huh.
And I think that there are populations, smaller populations of the cartoony Mario humans
Right.
also living in the city.
Uh huh.
I think Pauline maybe has one parent from both parties.
She's
You know,
mixed.
she's mixed. I think so.
Interesting.
Maybe not. You know, because
I
Pauline's.
gave that some thought. That was definitely one of the things that was on my mind.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, that's interesting. Um,
mm-hmm.
I'll only keep you here for a little bit longer, I promise.
Alrighty.
Okay, what? Uh, a lot of people seem to think that that Mario's Earth shifts around in a non-Euclidean fashion, as I described it here. Now you brought up the uh, and you know, I mean, I brought this up in the first place. That's why it's on here. But
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, I was the first person to ever bring it up, but I brought it up on this poll. But
Yeah.
now we were talking about art style and like art style being taken literally.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something in one of your comments, I forget which one, but about the maps specifically, it being like, well, yeah, like people draw maps differently. Like look at maps throughout history, like in on Earth, like
Mm-hmm.
they're drawn in a different style, and the art of the game is just being taken like they're not even necessarily literal interpretations of the world within the games themselves because maps are not necessarily that,
Yeah.
but also like uh they it's like an art style thing
Yeah. Yeah.
that like applies to the games themselves and the way that they're being interpreted to us, the player. So do you think that like the world does shift around though, or what?
No. Think. Look, I've been working with Mario maps now for
Right.
like, well, like really since Odyssey.
Yeah.
Like I did do ones beforehand. I don't think they're very accurate, but you know, since Odyssey came around and gave us an actual proper planet to work with, I think that uh, uh, I've come to realize that there's really no reason to believe that it does shift around.
Mm-hmm.
What we do know is that Peach's castle grounds do shift around, and that Bowser's castle's grounds do shift around, and not shift around in the sense of like changing location. I mean, shift around in that they are completely like remodeled
Right.
as time goes on,
Right.
partially due to the ongoing wars, partially due to just like recreational events like building a tennis dome next
Right.
to the castle or building a racetrack around it like Royal Raceway. So like, yes, the Toad Town does change in universe. That town is demolished and built back up again every few months just because they're crazy rich people who who play sports. But
Are the Toads
and
bourgeoisie? Are they the upper class?
apparently, yeah. Well, according to like dialogue in Paper Mario, it's like Toad Town is like the big city. It's like the capital. So you think it would be like hard to live there, but also it's like probably dirt cheap because they're constantly attacked by Bowser,
Right.
and because their homes are like upended to build a stadium every now and then.
It's a little bit like the why would anyone live in Gotham City type argument.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of question. But the Toads seem to like enjoy the events and stuff, so I don't think there's any political issues there. But yeah, it's in terms of the rest of the Mushroom Kingdom, we usually just see different parts of it. And it's not like, when you're playing Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, we see just the area that we explore in that game. And it's not like it's not like the Bean Kingdom doesn't exist.
Right.
It's still to like the south of the area that we play in Bowser's Inside Story. It's mentioned by characters in multiple parts of the game. And I think people kind of, I don't know, I don't know why, but they just assume that because the entire world map isn't filled out in excruciating detail in every single game, that's inconsistent.
Yeah,
and I really don't think it is. I think it's just it still exists. They're just not going to add all these locations that you can't actually explore as the player.
Yeah,
like that's partially why Isle Delfino was probably removed from the map in the final game of Super Mario Sunshine, because they didn't want to promise people this location on the map that they can't actually visit. That's
why some of my friends and I thought that it would be like DLC, is because it was in that little thing, and they were like, oh well, we don't want to do that because that would be a misconception.
It would be misleading. And it doesn't mean that the developers suddenly don't think Isle Delfino exists. It's not like they said it sank into the ocean. Mario still buys an outfit from Sunshine in Crazy Cap. There's still mentions of Sunshine lore. There's plenty of callbacks to the game. But like, the point is that when you're designing a game, purely from a game design perspective, you're not going to include references to every location that has ever existed, because it's just ridiculous to do so. And I wouldn't expect that in the most grounded, story driven games.
No,
I wouldn't expect that level of commitment. And of course it would be great if they did.
Yeah,
but I think it's insane.
It would be kind of neat, but like the map would also probably be really difficult to navigate as like the player, unless you were like constantly focused on it, but you could like look at the other places. It's like, why would they?
Yeah, it's like, exactly,
devote resources to that. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
And I think like what we do on Marioverse is we take all these maps. We take all these maps, we put them together. Like it's a jigsaw puzzle, and it works. Well, at least so far. Things just tend to slot into places together, and they don't seem to overlap. At least not significantly. So we're in quite I think we're in quite a good place. Like a lot of people think that, oh, the map's constantly changing and it's inconsistent, and but I think that they really haven't dug themselves a hole in terms of what they've mapped so far in Mario. And who knows, maybe the next game will come out and it'll conflict with everything that we've done already. But like Origami King came out relatively recently, and that fits in just fine with what we had already. There was literally a blank space on the map, and then all of a sudden Overlook Mountain slots in here. Like that was literally what happened. So I mean, again, subject to change, as is always the case. I know like Zelda often has mapping inconsistencies, but people just justify them by, oh, the games take place hundreds of years apart. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
So I think if it does end up being the case, it'll just be, yeah, look, don't think about it too much. Yeah, the mapping is a little inconsistent. That's something you have to live with, unfortunately.
And the mapping is a little bit inconsistent in the real world too,
Yeah.
At least presumably.
But yeah, for the time being, at least as of right now, it works just fine. So yeah.
What as because we could probably talk about this for ages, as evidenced by the I think we've been talking for like 4 hours or
4 hours. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm really enjoying it. So
me too. What in true like Marvel movie fashion, do you think any Nintendo games share a universe in the canon that is written right now? Obviously, there's like some potential Punch Out references in the movie and stuff. We're not talking about the movie. We're talking about
okay.
as it is
in the game.
Right now. Yeah,
as it is right now in the game universe. Mario, Donkey Kong, Yoshi, and Wario share a universe, of course.
Right.
Outside of that, I really don't think so. At most, Punch Out maybe takes place on Earth in an alternate dimension to Mario's, which is like a whole other thing. But even then, like Punch Out has two separate universes. The Punch Out Wii universe is separate from the original NES one. So, and Donkey Kong appears in that, and Mario appears in the original. So, like, how do you divide that up?
Right.
So I personally just think that, Mario gets referenced in a lot of other things, and a lot of other things get referenced in Mario, but it doesn't go further than just cameos or references. As Zelda universe, or sorry, like as Zelda dimension and Animal Crossing dimension, a Splatoon dimension, they exist in Mario's like universe bubble, but they aren't like the same ones from their respective canons.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's a different Isabelle.
That's my perspective on it, at least. Because I feel like if you go any further than that, if you try to connect Zelda and Mario, the lore isn't going to mesh. Things are just gonna get really muddy, and having to consider all the Zelda games when discussing implications for the Mario world is just not worth it.
It's not particularly feasible. The one thing that I've seen that I think kind of works on a surface level, but I haven't really like looked into it because I haven't really played a lot of Link's Awakening, but it's like I got an email from somebody recently that was like Link's Awakening and the setting of Mario Brothers 2 are like connected tenuously, like through Subcon, basically. Like it's a land of dreams, and that it exists in, and I think they even looped in some other Nintendo series into it as well.
They did, yeah. There was a SimCity, in Link's Awakening, but like a So there are connections. Mad Seinstein or Scheinstein, not sure how to. Dr. Arroway Chitane or something like that. I can't remember his name. But from the Wario Land games.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's originally from The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh yeah, that's right. Prince Sable.
And but like the Wario like lore, I guess, makes it clear that he is not the same individual, despite being the same character in like the sense of, oh yes, he is that character. He is a separate iteration,
right?
And I think that same principle applies to to Wart in Link's Awakening and like all the other like Mario characters that are like represented there.
Sure.
Especially since like Wart in the Mario universe is a conqueror. He moves between dream worlds. He takes over different locations in the dream world, including Subcon, as he did twice.
Right.
And then you go over to Link's Awakening, and Wart has like a slightly different design, and also he's like a singer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, like a musician.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, on a surface level, okay, they're both dream worlds, and they both have this guy. But also, like, Nintendo sometimes just likes to use characters from other things in other universes that are unrelated.
Right.
I think that they just have kind of like a grab bag of characters that they just like to throw in to things sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And that's fine. Like that's fun. But I think I don't think reading into it does anyone any favors, especially since like Koholint from Link's Awakening is entirely the Windfish's dream.
Right. Specifically.
And also it's a physical island. Like
Uh-huh.
Koholint physically manifested within Hyrule.
Right.
Or sorry, not within Hyrule, but like within the Zelda planet.
Right.
I guess it is called Hyrule as well. But so it's not the exact same as the dream world in Mario, where yes, it also technically physically exists as a dimension, but it's comprised of people's dreams. Like
right.
it doesn't manifest in the actual Mario world.
Uh-huh.
And also with Koholint, when the Windfish woke up, everything on the island ceased to exist.
Right.
So that would mean that Wart would have ceased to exist, which then wouldn't work with Mario because he's still like mentioned infrequently to this day. So yeah, and then there's like the whole like Zelda timeline. There's two Links from opposite ends of the Zelda timeline in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
And yeah, Mario has time travel, but it's like, how does that like? How do you reconcile that in terms of like when Zelda takes place in comparison to Mario? Like I think reading into that too much is fun, but it shouldn't be taken too seriously.
I think it kind of goes into your rules for deciding what was and wasn't canon in Mario to begin with. It's like maybe another stipulation is that it like has to be Mario or its sub-series is.
Yeah, that is the rule for me. It's has to be like a Mario franchise game published by Nintendo.
Yeah,
like
franchise, which is and like if we get more Captain Toad games, like we're gonna have to deal with that eventually. But those are pretty clearly tied to the main series in a way that
same for
yeah. Oh yeah,
same for Luigi's Mansion, Wario, Yoshi,
right?
And I think it was really funny. I was talking about that canon video that I made with Dan Nintendo recently, and in the comments, people were like, "No, clearly the movie's just retconning the games. Like all these inconsistencies are just retcons."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think these people understand what a retcon is.
Yeah,
like. You can't just irreconcilably change things about a plot to the extent that like it's completely different.
Yeah.
And like I think that what's more is that Nintendo, as recently as the new tour in Mario Kart Tour, which added Poochie, is still very clearly referencing Yoshi's Island as the canonical like Mario backstory.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that like to keep that in mind, that they aren't. It's not like they're completely acting as if Yoshi's Island doesn't exist now.
Yeah. And like in the theme parks and stuff, like not that canon for those
it's still relevant to the world of the games.
Yeah, it's still relevant to the world, and it's also still relevant to the brand.
Yeah, of course.
Which I think is important, or it becomes important. Yeah, no, I think that's a fair a fair rule to apply to it. Um, yeah. Uh, I'm gonna let you go live your life now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking so much time to dissect these things. I,
No,
frankly, I
glad
don't know
to
how I'm
glad to
gonna
have
edit
done.
this video, but it's I no I do kind of know how I'm gonna do it.
Okay, fair.
It'll be
But like I've had a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed discussing it with you. And again, anytime you want to discuss things further, just let me know
thank you.
because
Yeah, you too.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I
Looking
did
forward to
too.
that. Looking forward to that Adventure Time video as well.
Yeah, it. Oh God, that'll be that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that that is a whole other thing. Um, but anyway, thank you so much.
Oh, literally anytime.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you having me
Mm-hmm.
on here.
Yeah, this will be an interesting video.
Hopefully, I hope I've made for an interesting guest.
Oh,
So
without a doubt. Yes, the like the most indispensable person that I could possibly have for this. That's why I was like, I don't really want to do this without you being involved in some way because you were so instrumental to the changing of my mind, you know? So it
all
just
right.
it would feel incomplete. So I'm glad that
Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
See ya.
Right. I'll